I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Deep down in my heart, it's down in my heart. I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. It's down in my heart today. I've got the grandest, greatest feeling. This feeling's really here to stay. And it's a joy that needs revealing. So I just want to say,
We've reached Championship Saturday for the best in high school cross country in 2024 as the top teams and the top individuals from around the country descend upon Portland, Oregon for the 2024 edition of Nike Cross Nationals. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Swangard. Pleased to be back for another year of calling these races along with Tom Fuhr, and we'll get to the action out at Glendoveer Golf Course in just a moment. Reminder of what our schedule is over the course of this broadcast day, as we'll talk about it in the context of West Coast time zone viewers. Just after 10 a.m. local time, the girls' championship race will go off, and that'll be followed by the boys' championship race at 11:35 local time. Of course, lots of previews to come, lots of live action out on the course with some great live results in real time. And then, of course, after the races, a lot of great interviews with some of the top finishers and, of course, those newly crowned Nike Cross National Team Champions. Tom, it's been a great run of regionals here in 2024. And as you reflect back on the regionals that we've witnessed, the success we saw at the California State meet that got those teams here to Portland, what has come of the 2024 season in your mind?
Well, I like how you dubbed it the Super Saturday, where most of the regionals did take place. I like kind of that level playing field, with the exception of California, of course. But I was really struck by NXR Heartland and that fantastic finish for the second year in a row of the same three athletes. That was something very, very special. And to see them go mano a mano today again will be something I'm really looking forward to.
And the winner in that region, Juan Gonzalez, will figure prominently in our boys previews coming up here in a moment. But this is also the 10th edition of Nike Cross Nationals at Glendoveer Golf Course, as they've turned that golf course on this day into an authentic test of cross-country running. We know Mother Nature may have some ingredients to throw at these runners as well, which is part of the tradition of racing in the Northwest in early December. But what strikes you about what we're going to see unfold here on race day?
Well, I love it. It's true cross country, right? You want to deal with the elements. And I think the athletes, especially the more experienced ones, are going to take it a little bit slower this year. You have to you always want to be amongst the leaders and not lose contact. But last year we saw Elizabeth Leachman go hard, Sadie Engelhart go hard, and Rachel Forsyth go really hard. And all three of them dropped back. And the recipient of their generosity was the youngest of the great contenders, Addie Ritzenhein. And never, never, never underestimate the heart of the champion. And Addie Ritzenhein is back and ready to run.
She is the reigning champion, trying to become the defending champion. We've had a few of those over the history of Nike Cross National. A lot of history to talk about. So before we go and talk about the 2024 edition of Nike Cross Nationals, here now a look at some of our fantastic finishes from years gone by.
Now there goes Reed up that slight incline. Another fastest time ever here at Nike Cross Nationals. 2009, the best field we've ever had at the boys individual race here at NXN. Lutz wins it. Kai Wilmot, the senior, in his final cross-country race, 32nd place last year, to the victory stand in 2013.
A couple of looks back by Casey Klinger, but for the first time in NXN history, we have a two-time champion. In a race that brought together the deepest field, Nico Young will reign supreme as Nike Cross Nationals champion. Oh, and he's attacking the hill so much harder. What a day for Aaron Solomon. He will win Nike Cross Nationals.
He gets through this point in the course, his speed is going to take him through.
Joe Jordan, he is the Nike Cross Nationals champion.
Florida's now got it. Arjun with only 20 meters left and hits the line. It's NXN champion. 19:12 on the clock and counting as Sarah Baxter wins NXN 2012. Efferson in back is now closing back in again. Baxter's ever, look at that Efferson. Alexa Ephraimson is 16:50.
But here comes Katie Rainsberger taking home a national championship.
And she's nipping under 17 minutes, 16:56 unofficially.
They're making her work for it.
Caitlin Toohey, a three-time Nike Cross Nationals champion. Well, there is Irene Riggs, and where else but in the lead here as the new champion is crowned at NXN, and it is Irene Riggs. Leachman's lead is now less than a second, and Ritzenheim looking strong in the lead. As a Nike Cross Nationals champion, this is Addie Ritzenheim. So fun to look back on some of those great, fantastic finishes in the history of NXN. We expect more history to be made here in just a few short minutes in our coverage of the 2024 edition of Nike Cross Nationals. But before we do that and get to the previews, we thought we'd take a look at the race course that all these athletes will be traversing over 5,000 meters. For that, we are here at the big board to talk about Glendoveer Golf Course. This is the 10th time Nike Cross Nationals has been staged at this golf course, which is on the east side of the Portland metropolitan area. Over 5,000 meters, a lot of true tests of cross country. We want to point out three very special places out on the course. The first, early on into the racing, is a descent that bottoms out. And of course, last year, if you were with us, you remember it turned into a big puddle, causing all kinds of problems for those racers in the 2023 edition. We'll see what happens here in 2024. And then about the halfway mark, we reach the northeast portion of the course where we see the biggest descent and the biggest climb. That's a very important strategic moment halfway through the racing at Glendoveer. But if there is one special place on this course each and every year, it is towards the end, the last few hundred meters, those two climbs known as the terraces that again plateau to the final stretches to the finish line. So many years here at Glendoveer, we've seen the race won or potentially lost by how you attack those terraces in the final stretch. Well, we've taken a look at the virtual version of this course, but now let's head out to Glendoveer for a live course report.
It's race day here at Nike Cross Nationals 2024. It's been dry and sunny all week, but today, overnight, the rain has started. Every year, there are some key points where footing is a problem on the course here at Glendoveer. This could be the spot this year. This is about halfway into the 5,000-meter course. Athletes will come through this point twice, so the boys race, the second race, by the fourth revolution, this could be pretty well chewed up. Every year, there's always one or two spots where the footing is terrible, and we see athletes go down, and we see some kids trying to make a move. This could be the key spot this year.
Thanks for that course report, Tom. This course always set up for championship racing, but always set up for something a little bit different each year.
This time in the Northwest, you can get anything, right? You can get rain, you can get sleet, you can get freezing cold, and the wind is a factor on this golf course. So if I'm an athlete, I'm prepared for anything that this course and this weather will give me at this time of the year in the Northwest.
Only one region of our regionals gets to race on a golf course at regionals. That's in the Southwest, but I can guarantee you weather today in Portland a little bit different than what we saw in Arizona just a couple of weeks ago. That affords us the opportunity to look back at some of those highlights from all of our great regional action here in 2024 as we'll begin in the Heartland. The undercard races are complete as we welcome you inside the Runner Space studio. We get set for championship racing here in the Heartland region at the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals. The 2024 Nike Cross Regionals is underway. 3 weekends of action starting here in the Heartland.
And as we look at the team standings, Paul, still very sort of wide open, I would think, here.
For Putz, Gonzalez, and Matura, they all come into this race undefeated in 2024, and something has to give here. Manny Putz, Gonzalez, Matura on the outside, and this time Juan Gonzalez takes the Heartland over Putz and Matura. Racing is underway here in the Heartland, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The course record 16:44.7 is going to be shattered here by Marissa Farabee of Pella, as she is the Heartland Region Champion. Always love the atmosphere in the Heartland, and as usual, the races didn't disappoint either.
This region always delivers, and to see those three great runners go at it, Putz, Matura, and Gonzalez for the second time at a regional, and pretty soon for the second time at a national. It is a very, very special regional.
And don't forget about Marissa Farabee. We'll be talking about her for many years to come. All right, next up, we go out to Boise, Idaho for the Northwest region. Seen a lot of great action in the Northwest region already today, but now we are set for championship races for the boys and the girls here at the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals. Nike Cross Regionals Northwest underway just outside of Boise, Idaho.
What a sight we have here, Paul. Look at this. You don't get a lot of this in other sports, and it's just a picture-perfect sight.
As we go through the 1 kilometer mark here, the cream rises to the top early with Heiler, Sofia Rodriguez, and the reigning champion Wisniewski. Rodriguez now with a little bit of daylight between her and second place Heiler. And now look at Heiler go to the arms, and look at the turnover here as she zooms past Rodriguez and into the lead. And she'll qualify again this year as the Northwest Regional Champion. Out of the state of Oregon, the 5A champion. Can he hold off Burton, who's trying to close here? And Kitchen's going to celebrate at the line. Look at that race for individual honors behind Tavon Kitchen. Well, Tom, it's always appropriate in a region that had a team winning called Grit XC to talk about the grit and determination that we see from athletes in all these regionals. You want to talk about one young man from Oregon distance that didn't fare as well as we had hoped.
No, Josiah Tostenson was 18th at the NXN last year, number 4 returning junior. But Tostenson had a rough day, had some breathing problems, and his team, Oregon Distance, did not qualify for the team title either. A double disappointment, but hats off to that young man because he still finished the race despite those physical problems, and kudos to him and Oregon Distance.
Yeah, showing up just to toe the line, maybe when you're less than 100%, just shows what these regionals mean to these squads as they all try to finish on empty wherever they do land in the results, either at the regionals or on to Nike Cross Nationals. All right, we've looked at the regionals from the Northwest. Now we head out to the Midwest region. There's a reason they call Laverne Gibson a championship cross-country course, and we're about to see why as we get set for the championship races at the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals Midwest. Underway from Laverne Gibson in Indiana as the racers from 5 states around the region converge here. Here is the start of the boys' championship race in the Midwest.
If you are going to win this race, you got to hustle up and try to separate.
There's the start line. They can see the finish now. But now Crane making a move on the outside. Crane is the Midwest Regional Champion.
Improving upon last year's 15th finish.
Underway racing at Laverne Gibson Championship Course as the top girls from around the region descend upon Indiana for Nike Cross Regionals Midwest.
This is going to be some of the 2 minutes and 40 seconds most dramatic you've ever seen, because it's really hard right now to pick out who of these 3 will emerge.
And it will be Victoria Garces out of Michigan is going to take the Midwest Girls Championship here over 5,000 meters. Well, Tom, after that performance by Downers North on both the boys and the girls sides of the Midwest here, there's a broom shortage now in Illinois. Phenomenal effort by both those squads.
Yeah, and the Downers North girls team, they were 3rd in the Illinois 3A championship by 2 points. What do? They win the NXR Midwest by 1 point. Now, that's what I call a great come-through finish for Downers North.
Well, it shows what these later races and the regionals and the championship races mean to some of these squads that have this culture of excellence, believing that they are the best teams in the country. All right, from the Midwest, we continue our look back on the regionals here in 2024 as we head down to the Woodlands, Texas for the South region.
Go.
Welcome to the RunnerSpace.com studio as we get set for the first of 5 championship windows on this Saturday here in the South. Championship window underway on this Super Saturday for Nike Cross Regionals.
Looking on the team side, Carroll XC had talked about their depth up front, and they got 4 guys within 3 seconds of each other.
Hayden Leonard gonna take the victory here at Nike Cross Regional South. He's got another ticket to Portland in early December, and now the race for 2nd and 3rd. The South region for Nike Cross Regionals in 2024, the girls' championship race over 5,000 meters. And into the home straight, Lily Bashir's out of Arkansas. Their 6A state champion is now a regional champion here in the South. These regionals come at the end of a long high school cross-country season, but some who maybe weren't in top shape in the midst of that season have an opportunity to be in championship form, and Elizabeth Leisman was the poster child for that in the South.
Yes, so it's interesting because she lost the region, but I don't think that will have any effect at all at what happens at NXN. Last year, she went out so fast at NXN. I think she's a smarter runner this year. She's the national record holder at 5,000 meters on the track, and I expect her to be very much in the mix come race time today.
Yeah, trying to get back from some injuries that she's been dealing with, but hoping to be in championship form here on this Saturday. Well, we've looked at the regionals through the South. Now we head out to the only other place where they race on a golf course in Arizona in the Southwest. Seen a lot of great racing so far here in Mesa, Arizona, but now as we welcome you back into the runnerspace.com studio, we get set for the championship window at the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals in the Southwest.
I think right now it's just almost a victory lap for her. She's done come into this big crowd of people and kind of enjoy the moment. Today's about coming in, getting the job done, and making a statement.
Nike Cross Regional Southwest Champ Jane Heddenbrand.
Winners come here to win, but there's a bigger dance coming in December. He looks strong. He's planned this for a long time. He's looked at the course. He's seen these other guys at meets. He knows what he's capable of.
Kate Evans, your winner, NXR Southwest.
And Tom, no disrespect to all the other regions, but it is remarkable to see the amount of talent we have in the Southwest region. And it also means that if you're not winning a race in the Southwest region, doesn't mean you're not going to be part of the factor of maybe being first to the line at Nike Cross Nationals.
Well, we just had that example last year. Addie Ritzenhein, third in the region, first at NXN. This year, second in the region. What will she do today? Who knows, but I think she's in pretty good shape to defend her title.
And now that I've offended the rest of the regions around the country, there is a lot of other talent to show you with look back on some of our regional highlights as we now go to the Southeast region. One of 5 regional championship windows on our schedule here on this spectacular Super Saturday with our live coverage of the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals.
Look who's lined up. Our boys in what should be a very competitive. Watch who bursts up front. We've got Marcelo Montacon, Florida 3A champ, just a sophomore. Will the sophomore trend continue?
Seeing quite a bit of shuffling going on here. All these runners just trying to feel each other out as they head into the second loop. And now it is really a pack of 3, Bob, separated from the rest. They know they had that long uphill coming up. You can see that on the elevation tracker at the bottom.
Keegan Smith, Knoxville, Tennessee. 7th a year ago, the NXR 2024 champion for the Southeast. And here we go. Championship race, girls NXR Southeast underway.
Tightly packed right now, Bob. No one really looking to take on this charge early on. Well, Lowen's done exactly what she needed to do. She went out hard, established a very significant lead.
First place, no question about it. A small school sophomore from Georgia. He'll take it. Avery Lowen is your NXR Southeast champion.
Well, Tom, in all these regions, a lot of them stick to the form chart, but I think in the Southeast you thought that this was one of the bigger surprise results this year.
I agree. Ty Steorts was the guy that was ranked number 1 in the country, and Keegan Smith wins the region by 13 seconds. That was a real significant marker that Keegan Smith set in this region.
So a little bit of a surprise there in the Southeast region. One thing that's not a surprise is that when you go up into the New York region, you get one of the truest tests of cross country as we look back at the highlights from 2024. Some of the top girls and boys high school teams as we welcome you in here to the runnerspace.com studio. We are getting set for racing in New York. And the 2024 New York State Federation Championships at Nike Cross Regionals, New York.
Monroe Woodbury has done a heck of a job placing their athletes.
And Ryan Sykes realizes he will reach the line first as the New York State Federation champion at Nike Cross Regionals, New York.
133 points. Monroe Woodbury.
The top high school girls in the state of New York have arrived at Bowdoin Park to race for a New York Federation Championship at Nike Cross Regionals, New York. Look at that delta that she's broken up in just a few strides here. And Zariel Makia of William Floyd is going to take the victory here. Well, Tom, thinking about those results in New York, you know, a lot of really strong teams that have a chance to win that team title at Nike Cross Nationals, led by veteran leadership. But in the case of Del Mar, kind of youth being served in the leadership principle.
Well, first I'd like to point out that I think Del Mar is the deepest team in the country. Their top 7 are almost interchangeable. But when you look at their number 1 runner, who would have thought? An 8th grader, Sophia Kromzak. Good for her. 4th in the region, leading the team. Love it.
Yeah, could have a lot of experience by the end of her high school career, depending on the success of Del Mar, not only this year, but in years to come. We didn't have to go far for our next regional highlights, the same spot in Wappingers Falls, New York, as we check out the highlights from the Northeast region. Welcome back to our continuing coverage on this Super Saturday of the 2024 Nike Cross Regionals as we get set for the racing and the championship division in the Northeast. Gun fired, and we get to the conclusion of a Super Saturday of Northeast Girls Championship here from Bowdoin Park.
She looks so comfortable, so relaxed.
Paige Shepard of Union Catholic for the 2nd consecutive year. This is the boys championship race at Nike Cross Regionals Northeast. The winner in the Northeast Division, comfortably number 1. Well, Joe Barrett has not only eyes on that individual title, but bringing a pretty phenomenal team with him to NXN today.
Couldn't agree with you more. The last time Lincroft won in 2011, I think they have the talent and the moxie to take the title this time out. Let's not forget Paige Shepard. Between Barrett and Shepard, they're undefeated in 17 races total.
Well, speaking of talent and moxie, coming off probably, a 15-mile wake-up, shake-up run, getting ready for joining us for the coverage here for NXN. Pleased to bring back Galen Rupp. Galen, this event wasn't around back in the day when you were a pretty decent high schooler in your own right, but, you've been a part of it. You've been on site on race day. Just talk about the whole experience of that weekend and what these athletes must be thinking now, just a few short moments away from racing when it matters.
This is an unbelievable event. It's one of my favorite things that Nike puts on every year. I look forward to watching these kids. It is just so pure, and the energy and enthusiasm that they bring is always incredible. I think that this is something that a lot of them are not always prepared for. I think experience is going to play a big part. Those that have been here before know what to expect, not so much even during the race, but everything that comes around being at NXN is going to prove huge today.
And Tom, for someone like Galen, adding the value of having him here sitting in a chair. I mean, you guys have been talking about strategy and who to win, but what have you been kind of working each other's brains, kind of picking the brains about strategy today?
Well, exactly. I wanted to ask Galen because there is a lot of cogitating that goes on in the athlete's mind. And for some of those athletes who we've seen, like the Marissa Farabys, who have not had any competition at all this year, even Joe Barrett, the question is, when you're now thrown into a field where everybody is really good, how does that play out? And that's one of the things I'm really going to be looking for you from today.
This is going to be a lot different than a lot of these athletes are used to. There are some incredible, talented kids in this field, and they're used to being out on their own. And it is going to be fun to watch, to see how they deal with maybe not being out, and maybe not having those gaps that they've been used to having all year, and how they deal with that pressure of a lot of great athletes around them.
We'll be enjoying it from the comfort of our studio, but we're getting set to go out live now to Glendevere Golf Course as we get set for coverage of the 2024 Nike Cross Nationals. And so you see the live look at the scene here at the finish line. That is the traditional place where we'll do all the introductions here in order as, Tom, you'll kind of fill in the storylines for all of our teams. But let's start with the first squad making their 8th appearance here at Nike Cross Nationals. That's Carmel. Forest Park is where we're going to start today, Tom.
Sophomore Ellery Lincoln is the daughter of a couple of University of Arkansas Hall of Famers. Danny Lincoln, a 4-time NCAA and 3-time USATF steeplechase champion, and Cher Schwald, herself a 4:04 1,500-meter runner and an NC2A indoor champ. Ellery is a chip off the old blocks, so to speak. She has run the second fastest freshman mile in history and is an Oregon State 1,500-meter champion. She leads a strong Forest Park contingent.
And Galen, this is a group that's going to be pretty familiar with conditions here.
Absolutely. They're going to be used to running in the rain. I'm really excited to see how Ellery Lincoln does. I mean, she is still so new and so raw. She has a lot of room to grow. The accomplishments that she had last year, winning the state title in the 1,500, it's going to be fun to see how she competes in cross country.
And one of those kids, the beneficiary of all these name, image, and likeness deals, just signed a deal with Nike. So this is her first opportunity to be part of that as well. All right, out of the Northwest as well, this is Meridian.
Yes, and they are the 12th ranked team in the country. They won the NXR here from Idaho. They won the region, Paul, by a whopping 84 points, led by Hallie Heemeyer, third in the Idaho 6A champs, and Brooklyn Hom right behind her in fourth.
Next up on the squads out of the South region, this is Carroll.
Both boys and girls teams made NXN. A huge thumbs up to that program located deep in the heart of Texas. Talk about a comeback for the ages. Carroll was only 6th in the UIL 6A state and yet finishes second at NXR South. Amazing. Their slogan should be, you gotta believe, and they did.
And they believe each and every year that they can make it to NXN, and they have done so 16 times in 19 editions of this event. One of the remarkable, consistent, culture of excellence squads in and around the United States in high school cross country. All right, from South's number 2 qualifier to the number 1 squad from Flower Mound.
Lost the Humphrey sisters from last year to the University of Oregon. Galen appreciates that. No matter, though, they just reload. They waltzed to victory in the UIL 6A by 34 points And then at NXR South by an even more definitive 63 points, led by the 1-2 punch of Alexandra Fox and Addie Bennett.
It's their 4th appearance here at NXN, 8th appearance for Carmel.
Earned one of the at-large bursts in the Midwest, finishing only 4 points behind the winners Downers North. Strong top 3 in sophomores Annabelle Pollard and Larkin Taylor and junior Sadie Foley. Watch out for them in 2025.
You know, we've talked a lot, in fact, all the early squads we've introduced with multiple appearances at NXN. How about a squad that's making its very first appearance? This is Bruce Township out of the Midwest.
Out of Washington, Michigan, led by Annie Rabowski, another one of those Super Souths, 6th in the Michigan Meet of Champions. They're a very deep team. Lost by only 1 point to Downers North in NXR.
See our descending clock, about 30 minutes away from live racing here at Nike Cross Nationals in 2024 here at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland, Oregon. Next up, part of that super sweep that Downers North had, 2nd appearance for the girls.
That's right, the boys and girls taking them both in NXR. They were 3rd at their state meet, Paul, and then boom, 1st at NXR Midwest. That's how Downers North rolls. No superstars on this team, just a solid placement 1 through 5. They have a 46-second spread from all of their scores in NXR.
So we move on now to the Southwest. This is, as it was last year, Tom, loaded division. Lone Peak is back, 4th appearance at NXN.
The toughest region. Southwest ate up 2 of the 4 at-large berths, both here and on the boys' side. This team out of Utah, Lone Peak, was 4th last year at NXN. Leading returnee from that race was Maya Bybee, and she and her sister Boston are among 3 of the scoring 5 back from that squad. Another sister duo, the Nilsons, play prominently as well.
And Gail, you know, Southwest, not surprising that these kids, you know, have to battle their way through this region, but it's nice to see that multiple teams get in, including a couple of at-large squads.
You've got to be battle tested, and I think that's always why you see a lot of these Southwest Heartland teams run really well year after year, is they are running against great competition all year round, and they're ready to go when the big meets come.
First-timer appearance for South Fort Collins, Tom.
They were 3rd at the Colorado State 5A and 3rd at NXR to the same 2 teams, Academy and Denver. South Fort Collins is a consistent team led by seniors Tatum Berg and Mia Williams.
And speaking of Academy, here they are, 3rd appearance. Their trophy case pretty packed with loot from past visits.
Absolutely. Defending champions lost last year's NXN runner-up Bethany Mahalik to North Carolina State, but they have barely lost a step. Tessa Walter, 2nd at the Colorado 5A champs last year and this year, now has an excellent counterpart in sophomore Shamora Cooper. They will be a tough out for any team today.
So, again, 4 teams out of the Southwest region, 2 automatic qualifiers, 2 at-large. Here is Denver making their 5th appearance.
Uneasy is the head that wears the crown, so said William Shakespeare. Denver is a heavy favorite, and according to Doug Binder of Dystat, could be one of the great teams in NXN history. They won the toughest state title, Colorado 5A, by 38 points. Then at NXR, Denver increased their margin to 70. They have the inside track, so to speak, for the NXN title, buoyed by senior transfer Keegan Edwards.
We showed all the highlights of all the various regionals. The one region that advances teams here to NXN that doesn't go through a regional qualifier is the squads from California. They come through as a result of their various championship races. The 3rd appearance for San Juan Capistrano.
Galen and Paul, I call them the real runners of the OC. Led by 3 of the top 7 finishers in the California Division IV state championships, runner-up Chloe Elbaz, Sophie Paulet, and Reese Holly. They won their division by an unheard-of 109 points. The Swallows of Capistrano are loaded for bear.
And you could say they return year after year after year.
Very good.
Thank you very much. On to Clovis out of California, our 2nd of 3 squads.
Lost to Trabuco Hills by a close 9 points at California Division I. Really deep team. Placed all 5 of their scorers in top 25 with just 27 seconds separating them. Impressive indeed.
2nd of 3 California teams that get advanced here in 2024. And you mentioned Trabuco. They are going to be the third squad from California toeing the line.
Yes, sir. And Holly Barker was 12th at NXN 2023 and is the third leading returnee this year. She was runner-up at state 2 years in a row to Riley Blade. This year, Barker has support. Millie Bales was 4th at state and 13 at the Loaded to the Gills Woodbridge race.
And Galen, we'll talk about it a lot. You know, just the greatness of this event too is you're coming with your teammates and having that shared experience.
It's so much more enjoyable. You know, obviously individual accolades are great, but when you're there to share it with the guys and girls that you've been with all year, it just makes this experience so much more special for these athletes competing.
And some coming out to the West for the very first time, though Clifton Park has been here before, 4th appearance for them.
Layla Bouzeri gave Zariel Makia everything she could handle at the New York State Championships, and her grit and determination is a hallmark of this team, whose top 3 runners are all juniors.
Also making their 4th appearance here at NXN, the squad from Del Mar.
11th in 2023, they returned 5 of their top 6 and added a precocious 8th grader to the mix, Sophia Kromzak, who was 8th at the New York State Class A Championships, but only to pull a stunner, placing 3rd at NXR and leading 3 of her teammates into the top 10 as well.
So for the girls, New York advancing 2 squads in Clifton Park and Del Mar. It's the same reality for the Heartland, just 2 advancing, but still a very strong region led by first-time appearance at NXN for Johnston.
Johnston was 2nd in the Iowa State 4A, but then they took it to a whole nother level at the NXR Heartland. Alex Woodley leads the charge. She was 7th at state and then 13th at NXR.
And then also joining them, well, we always say Wayzata's going to be in the mix, and guess what? They're back for a 12th time.
Amazing. They are the Minnesota 3A champs and the NXR titleists in the Heartland. Maddie Gullickson and Lila Golem are an outstanding 1-2 punch. They finished 9th and 10th individually at NXR, and Wayzata's depth overwhelmed everyone else as they won by a commanding 58 points.
Again, in this team scoring, 7 athletes at the line. Top 5 will score for that team race here. And the next squad coming up comes out of the Northeast region, Heinsberg, making its 4th appearance.
Out of Champlain Valley, Vermont. They were first at the New England Championships. At NXR, their first 4 went, listen to this, guys, 15, 17, 18, 19, with just a 4-second spread. However, they are hugely vulnerable with their 5th scorer, who was only 97th at NXR. They got to tighten things up there.
And then our regional champion, Paige Shepard, joins her teammates of Union County here, making their 3rd appearance.
Top 3 and 4 of the top 5 on this team are sophomores. They will be a load to be sure in future seasons, but don't write them off for this year yet. Led by Paige Shepard, undefeated in 9 races, including defending the NXR title she won as a freshman. Paige is a national record holder as a part of Union's 4x800 meter relay team that ran 8:34. Paige herself in a blistering 2:05.
So those are the 2 squads out of the Northeast. Our final 2 squads out of the Southeast, starting with Brentwood.
Did a nice job of packing at Southeast, just 32 seconds separating their top 5, a really impressive spread. Lacking a low stick at the front, which could be a problem here. Top runner is Lauren Banovic, 5th at the Tennessee State Division I AAA.
Brentwood making its very first appearance as a girls squad here at NXN. All smiles here under the rainy conditions that they awoke to after a couple of very dry and sunny days. And our final squad to be introduced, the number 1 team out of the Southeast, Raleigh.
Paul, no more experienced runner in this field than Hannah Schaefer. She was first at NXR Southeast way back in 2021 as a 9th grader. In the subsequent 3 years, she's been consistent, placing 6th each time. This year, Schaefer has some support downstream from fellow senior Addie Mitchell. Raleigh won North Carolina 4A title by 74 points before winning NXR.
So those are our teams, which is the main focus here in the action at NXN, but we also bring together some of the top individuals as well. We start here in the Southeast.
Avery Lowen, a 10th grader, won this region. She has won 7 of her 10 meets this season. Abby Faith Cheeseman won her first Tennessee state title as an 8th grader 4 years ago. She has won 4 state titles since. She was 3rd at NXR this year, her first ever go at this meet in all that time.
And Galen, not only do we see a lot of veteran leadership in juniors and seniors, some of them making their triumphant return to here at NXN, but we've got these sophomores, freshmen, even an 8th grader in the field today.
Unbelievable. And the fact that the 8th grader is leading her team, I think she's their top runner, and it's going to be fun to watch to see how she deals with all this added pressure, added environment that she's probably not used to competing in the rest of the year. But she's been running well all year. There's no reason she can't do it here.
You've been part of so many of these events, and one of the great things that Nike does as part of this is bring a lot of their elite athletes in so they can kind of rub shoulders with kids that have looked up to them, but they're also having really authentic conversations. As you've had those over the years, just struck by the maturity level you see in these high school racers?
So much more mature than I was as a high
well,
schooler.
Clearly.
I can certainly say that. That's not saying much. I set the bar low, but it's a truly great experience. Hopefully these kids are really enjoying it, and I've had a time to spend around a lot of these high schoolers, and the questions they ask have really blown me away. But having a chance to talk to people who have you look up to or you've idolized for a while can really be such a beneficial experience for any high schooler, and hopefully they're soaking it all in and taking up the experience.
Yeah, and I was at the opening ceremony up on the Nike campus on Thursday. Cole Hawker was there as one of the featured athlete guests. The kids were having a blast with them. But, really the message was, and for all these kids, and there are a lot of them are coming, especially on the top end with some of these individuals like Jane Hedengren here in the Southwest. They haven't lost all year, and only 2 kids are going to come across the line as winners today. Tom, as you look at this Southwest group, this is the most intriguing sort of subplot out of a region because you've got Hedengren, who ran the fastest high school 5,000 ever in the region, and you've got the NXN defending champion in Addie Ritzenheim.
And they could battle for the individual title 1-2 right out of this region. Hedengren has won 6 of 7 this year, with the only blemish being an early season 4th place at Woodbridge. Addie Ritzenheim showed tremendous patience and moxie last year, winning the NXN title as a precocious sophomore. Now remember, last year she was 3rd in her region. She won the NXN title. This year, 2nd in her region. Can she defend that title?
And a lot of these athletes, part of the Nike Elite program at the youth level where they're, getting access to resources. And again, you talk about maturity, but a lot of these athletes, and, you got Dathan Ritzenheim's tutelage for daughter Addie. Just talk about kind of what like the Nike Elite program gives these kids in the way of access to things from training to, all the stuff that they get.
I think just the knowledge and the information that they're gathering has been huge, and I think that's been one of the main reasons you've seen such an uptick in U.S. distance running, because these kids from such a young age are learning more and more, not just about training, but about nutrition and sleep, how to train like a professional. A lot of these high school kids are running like professional athletes now, and it's been so great to see. And I'm really looking forward, on a side note, the battle between Hedengren and Ritzenheim I think is going to be unbelievable. We're not going to be running on a fast golf course in warm weather. This is going to be in the mud and rain in Portland, Oregon. And last year, Addie ran a tremendous race, moving up throughout the race as it went on, showed a tremendous amount of maturity, and I think that could really be the difference today.
Here are the top individuals out of the South, led by regional champion Lily Beshears.
And I think Beshears pulled off the biggest upset at NXR, defeating national 5,000-meter record holder Elizabeth Leachman. Aside from winning NXR, though, Beshears also won the prestigious Chili Pepper Invitational, which was right here on Runner Space, and the Arkansas State Champs. Now, here's somebody I really want you to pay attention to. 11th grader Sophia Bendet of San Antonio. She's a future star. Mark my words, a 2:07 800-meter runner. I saw her run down at the Texas A&M Invitational. She's the real thing.
Could see it on their faces, though. It's not exactly the kind of weather they're used to for racing. If you're racing in the South, Woodlands, Texas was, as it has been in most cases in the regional history of Nike Cross Regionals, was a pristine day down there. We had a couple of years of rain, as I remember, but the rain here also greeting them with a little cooler temperatures. Though, we'll have to say, for those who are watching at home from all points of the country, may have even talked to some of the athletes. It's been very cold here in the Northwest, but this rain actually has brought the temperatures up ever so slightly. So the group out of the south will get their run out here and then work their way over to get into their box assignments, and the racing just about 15 minutes away. Still some individuals to be introduced now as we go to the Midwest.
Well, Victoria Garces is undefeated in 7 races this year and showed a lot of patience at NXR in defeating Mia Surwa, a sophomore from Illinois who won her state title by 34 seconds. Helen Sachs won NXR Midwest 2 years ago and was 3rd this time out. Paul, I really like, by the way, and Galen as well, the little drum corps we've got going here. It makes it really feel like a game day Saturday. Love the atmosphere.
And they're getting some encouragement here from some of the Nike elite athletes. Saw Grant Fisher on the last camera cross by, and we'll hear from some of those athletes a little bit later on in the program. Also, a pretty good crowd on hand as well. This draws, and I think it speaks to one of the reasons that, and we're biased here because we all live in the Northwest. I mean, you got people here who obviously are supporting individual athletes, but this is also a community event. People love the fact that Portland hosts this every year.
This is very well supported. Oregon is a running state. We love our distance running here, and high school, college, professional, it doesn't matter the level. Going back to the University of Oregon, Prefontaine, Bill Bowerman, we have such a rich history, and it's awesome to see the support that the community brings out for these high schoolers.
Well, let's give kudos, too, to the folks at Glendiver Golf Course. Again, this is the 10th time that they've hosted this event. This takes a lot of a toll on this golf course, but the entire staff, and certainly the Greens superintendent and the Greens staff, the course staff, really doing a great job to put this into a championship race course form, and then they'll spend the next few days trying to put it back into golf shape.
Yes, and I do want to point out the excellent job Nike does and the people that run this event. This is big time, guys. This is really big time, and I'm sure the athletes are just blown away by their experience here.
Well, we were blown away by the performance by Marissa Farabee in the Heartland region. She was the regional champion, but she brings in another strong group here. And, you talk about new generations of athletes. You see that Ruby Immels, you might recognize the last name. Yeah.
Yes, well, Miss Farabee has been unstoppable this year, and without a doubt is the most improved elite runner in the country. She is undefeated in 8 races and broke the Iowa State meet record with her 2nd consecutive victory there this year. She was also absolutely untroubled in winning NXR Heartland by 9 seconds. Caitlin Roop is a 4-time Kansas State track champ with 3 additional Kansas titles in cross country, and as you mentioned, Ruby Immels, the daughter of sub-4-minute miler Corey Immels.
Yeah, we have a Immels, we have a Ritzenheim, there's a Culpepper in the mix here. It's just nice to see this kind of, and I know your kids are younger, but have they already started getting recruiting letters from various schools? They have an NIL deal yet?
Not yet, no. God willing, they will in the future, but...
All right, some of the final runouts here as we're going through all of the introductions. We've got through our teams earlier. Now these are the individuals out of the Heartland region. 4 more regions to come, and then we'll get set for racing as the clock now ticks under 13 minutes before the start of this Nike Cross Nationals 2024 championship race. We go on now, Tom. This is the top 5 from the Northeast region that did not qualify. In this case, with Northeast, some of these qualifiers, not necessarily in the top 5, but because some other teams got their squads in, some of those individuals advanced with their teams.
Correct, and boy, these athletes look really uncomfortable. That rain is really coming down. Also, just want to say 19 cameras on this NXN championship. A huge commitment for runner space, and we all appreciate that. Greta Hammer from Massachusetts was 2nd to Paige Shepard at NXR. She was the Massachusetts Meet of Champions winner and has captured 8 of 10 races this year, and she is the class of this group here of individuals. And she's just being introduced now.
Impeccable timing on your part, Tom, as the they're probably more happy now that they get a chance to get back and get moving again and bring that temperature up here as they get introduced in that run out, as is the tradition here each and every year at Nike Cross Nationals. And maybe the group that's saying, wait, this is like rain? We're used to it, the Northwest.
Well, this region is bursting at the seams with top talent. Corvallis' Emily Wisniewski knew how to tame the Glendiver course last year, finishing 3rd and beating runners with much bigger reputations. Chloe Heiler has been flawless this season, unbeaten in 9 races, and the Mercer Island sister duo of sophomore Sophia and senior Victoria Rodriguez have been tough outs as well. What a group of runners we see up there.
Are they advantaged by the fact that this is their backyard?
I think so. I think being familiar with the climate, being familiar with the surroundings, it absolutely plays a huge part. And, you talked earlier about the differences between this meet and some of the other meets that these might run. These introductions are awesome, but some of these athletes have been out there for 20, 30 minutes, and that's different than they're used to.
Yeah,
and so how you manage that routine, that can play a big part when the race to come.
Excellent point.
It should be noted, though, that only one Northwest individual runner on the girls' side has ever won this race. Alexi Ephraimson, back in the day, talented standout runner, just recently retired, had a great run back in 2013 out of the state of Washington. All right, Northwest has been introduced. 2 regions left. And now the group that's the farthest away from home, technically, I think by mileage, New York.
I'm going to say something right now that's going to blow you away.
Is it controversial?
No.
Oh.
Are you ready?
Proceed.
Amelia O'Leary is the veteran of this entire meet. She made her debut at NXR in 2019, pre-COVID, as a 7th grader, finishing a very respectable 56 at NXR New York. She has been at it ever since. 5th at NXR in 2023 and 3rd this year. Hats off to Amelia for an absolutely stunning and amazing career.
And how about on the far right of your screen, Zariel Macchia, who's being introduced, wearing that's not only a Nike kit, but that's also a national team kit. She's got some international experience, Galen, and that has to bring her a lot of confidence in her first ever NXN appearance.
She is going to be used to this environment, used to these expectations,
Yes.
and no doubt about it, she is going to be ready to go.
And that is very good water wicking material that she's
Storm
wearing.
fit.
Yes.
Keep the rain off of you.
All right, last but not least, we have the California individuals, always a strong field. Sadie Engelhardt, she was in the Olympic trials last year at 1500.
She sure was, and she was also Track and Field News' High School Athlete of the Year for 2024, and that's all events, so say no more. She started breaking age group records at age 14 and has been unstoppable since. She has split with Riley Blade this year, beating Blade at Clovis but losing to her at Woodbridge. Blade won the Nike Outdoor Nationals in the 5,000 on the track last year. The fastest runner of all at the California State Meet, though, was La Jolla Junior Kiara Daly, who beat Jane Hedegren and Engelhardt at Woodbridge. And in the 7 races she has run this season, she has not finished worse than 2nd.
Yeah, that Woodbridge race was one of those where we saw a lot of this top talent. Riley Blade coming out on top there, racing to a course record. Sadie Engelhardt getting introduced there as well, and they are ready now for the final run out. Just about 8 minutes away from the action here on a very rainy morning now in Western Oregon as we get set for the action at Nike Cross Nationals. The girls' race scheduled to begin at 5 minutes after the hour. Before we preview the key teams and the key individuals that are going to go out on the course here on that beautiful pictures from high above as the rain clouds have started to hug the ground here. This is the east side of the Portland metropolitan area, Glendoveer Golf Course. Before we talk about the action on the race course, let's check in with Lauren Moody and 2024 Olympian Allie Wilson.
Good morning, everybody. We are here live at Glendoveer Golf Course for an epic day of cross country. It is the greatest day of the year. I'm here with Olympian Allie Wilson. Allie, this is your first NXN. What do you think of today?
This is my first NXN. Finally punched my ticket. A little late, but I'm really excited to be here. Better late than never.
We are so excited you are here. Allie, you've been on the biggest stage at the Olympics this summer. What is you're going through your mind when you're towing that line?
A lot. I don't know if I necessarily have great cross-country advice for the runners today, but they just got to be tough. And I always go into every race knowing as long as I give it my best effort, then I'll walk away being really proud.
Amazing. All right, Allie, do you have any advice for these runners anymore?
Just embrace embrace it. They all worked so hard to get here and have this moment, so enjoy it, and it's a beautiful day for cross country.
You heard it here first, everybody. These kids are about to have a great race. Back to you.
All right, now trying to get ready for the action here that begins just about 6 minutes from now. So, Tom, let's talk about some of these big storylines coming into this race. We'll start with the key teams.
Well, Denver is buoyed by transfer Keegan Edwards, who is 5th at NXR. Denver was 3rd in 2023. They returned 3 from that team, plus Edwards. They're the favorite. But Del Mar, very, very tough. Led by that 8th grader, Sophia Kromzak. They are just so deep, the deepest team in the country. Trabuco from California, that 1-2 punch of Holly Barker and Millie Bales is super strong. Anna Desermo also very, very good. She was 8th in the California State Championships.
And on the key individual side, this is a race to look forward to.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. Who do you pick? And there are a lot of contenders here. For instance, Marissa Farabee, who we don't, who's undefeated this season, Victoria Garces, who's undefeated this season. But yes, these would be the 3. Riley Blade has never run well here, and that's going to be a real storyline. Engelhart went out too fast last year. Hedegren ran brilliantly at Southwest. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, these ladies like to run fast. They are going to go out. I think they're going to push the pace. And again, I mentioned earlier, I think Addie Ritzenheim, the way she ran last year, I think could be the difference here. She is going to go out conservative. Her dad always knew how to do it. She's going to work her way through gradually and not go out too fast.
So look at some of the other names to keep an eye on, and there will be more here to follow in the course of the girls' championship race here at NXN as we get set for racing. Leading up to the racing, we had a chance to catch up with some of the top teams and individuals. Our friends at DieStat now bring you another edition of their DieStat discussions.
You are the defending champion, of course, there is that pressure, but I feel like you're someone that just likes to go in there and just have as much fun as possible.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, go out there, have as much fun as possible, control what I can do, and trust my training. And I'm gonna be racing for my Niwot teammates that aren't here today.
What would it mean to go out as a national champion?
Obviously, if that's the result on Saturday, then that's gonna be amazing. But I think all of us are gonna be proud of whatever result it is.
At NXN, your first time as a senior, what does it mean to you to kind of fly in today and kind of get ready for this?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's, first time. So a lot of new things, but I'm looking forward to the experience, and Nike has already done just such a great job hosting us all.
What's important for your team to remember to be successful?
Believe that when you're potentially in 50th, you're running great, you're out there working your butt off for your team, and
How do you put that into words, what you've done to get to this level?
There's no magic sauce, just consistency, miles, time.
What would that mean for a program that's, just on the rise now, is showing their cards as a program to be, thought about, and we can be in the mix too?
Our point is that we want to be relevant in that discussion all the time.
You fill in the blank. Sadie Engelhart will get the job done if...
Why you gotta do this to me?
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled benighted wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Nice rendition of the national anthem under rainy conditions here at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland, Oregon, as we get set for the 2024 edition of Nike Cross Nationals, the girls' championship race to be followed by the boys' championship race. Noting, Tom, and you and Galen both pointed to it as we were watching that, this flag, no wind, and there was a lot of wind yesterday as the front was preparing to enter the Northwest.
Yeah, but it is pouring rain out there, and Galen, you got to be a tough mutter to handle these conditions.
You do, but I would much rather take cold and rain than wind. Wind is the thing that can really throw a lot of these women off, and especially the ones that like to run from the front, which a lot of them do. They're not going to have to deal with that pressure of, do I break the wind, do I sit back? I think they're just going to be able to let it rip from the start.
One of the great things that we do both at the regionals and here at Nike Cross Nationals affords you that one final opportunity for those of you watching around the country, perhaps around the world, as one of the biggest events on the high school cross-country calendar each and every year, a chance to see that team or that individual you are cheering and rooting on, all of these folks to be celebrated here at the line as they have all reached the end of the road of their championship season here at Nike Cross Nationals 2024. And there is bib number 1, the reigning champion, Addie Ritzenheim. She will help lead this group as we look high above. Final moments of reflection here before Nike Cross Nationals begins.
I'll tell you, I'm going to be fascinated by how this race unfolds, because last year Leachman and Forsyth and Englehart went out really fast, and they paid heavily for that.
You get in a national championship meet, there's always that extra added excitement. The environment is different. There's a lot more energy. Taming that at the start is going to be huge.
How could you not be excited as the race now is underway? Championship racing at Glendevere Golf Course. This is Nike Cross Nationals 2024. Girls Championship racing over 5,000 meters.
You know, you behold this. You said it's one of the great races in high school. Nobody tops this. This is the magnificent display, the color, the pageantry, the excitement. You saw that big puddle they all have to negotiate out there.
There are some puddles out on the course that I think they have actually filed for seeing if they could be named as official bodies of water here in Western Oregon. It has been a very dry stretch of weather. In fact, it was sunny the last couple of days, but the rain really came in hard overnight, and we're going to see that begin to have its toll, perhaps even more of a toll for the boys, because they're going to have to race on this course after these girls have championship raced their way here in the early going. They are the first out on the course.
And Paul, Alex Fox of Flower Mound, a surprise leader. We do see Addie Ritzenheim with the orange sleeves right in there in the front, but a little surprised that Alex Fox, not what you would expect necessarily to be taking the pace here.
And Galen, I know you were usually at the front, but you put yourself in the middle of that group here under these conditions. It's going to be tough running back of the pack.
It is, and I think it makes it all the more important to find your teammates. You know, that's the one constant. Those are the women that you've been training with all the time. If you can find your teammates, the teams that do that early are going to have success late.
You see the elevation here. It is going to have some undulations. You see sort of in the early going, maybe about halfway, the largest ascent and descent on the course. And then on the far right of your screen, the terraces at the end that become such a huge part of the story where races have been won and lost over the years. Also our course tracker in the lower left hand of your screen, which will show you where they are out on the course here at Glendevere. There see the same part of the course a couple of times on certain parts of this course as they work their way around here in the very early going. We'll have live results for you at each of the first 4 kilometers, and of course the finish line, as we'll keep an eye not only on what's happening at the front of the pack here with the leaders, but also with the team race as well, as we'll get those first 5 team members across the line and have in-progress scoring for you.
And that looks like it's Jane Hedgren that's up there at the front. You can see Addie Ritzenheim, number 1 to the left there. But look at how muddy this course is, and choice of footwear is pretty critical here. It is really, really tough to negotiate out there.
I hope these athletes put those long spikes in. I think anytime you're running on a golf course, you want to put that in because they're going to go through the ground. The drainage is so great, but especially when it's muddy out, you want to have that extra grip.
And Sadie Engelhardt is back there with Addie Ritzenheim just behind Hedengren. But Hedengren really taking it out right now. I'm a little surprised at this.
Yeah, showing what she did in the regional race where she went out and ran the fastest 5,000 meters we'd seen in high school cross country. She has the early advantage of about 3 seconds as we'll get the first kilometer splits here for you in a moment. She went out in the first kilometer in 3:13. Helen Sachs, Addie Ritzenheim, Victoria Garces, Sadie Engelhardt, all part of that lead group as they now populate on the left side of your screen. And we'll keep an eye on the team scoring that will come up here momentarily.
And Paul, Brentwood is the early team leader, which is a bit surprised, but I wouldn't take that into too much consideration. Denver, Lone Peak, Clovis right behind. Denver looking very, very solid, 4.57 on adjusted scoring. So they look good, but Hedengren really taking it hammer right now to everybody. This is an outstanding field, and she's, this is a little bit different than when Leachman took it out last year. Hedengren's a veteran. I just see her looking so comfortable out here.
This is what she's done all year, and I think the question is going to be how she gauges her energy. She looks well within herself right now, and with the conditions as well, it's going to be a lot harder for those chase pack to catch up. They're not going to have that great footing to be able to make big moves, and if she can sustain this, she's going to be in great shape.
She just looks full of run. I really like the way that she looks, and a bit surprised that she has really taken this bull by the horn, so to speak.
Yeah, again, it was 3 seconds at the kilometer at 3:13. We're a minute and a half later, and look at that lead continue to expand. Sadie Engelhardt alongside Ritzenheim there in that chase group, but everybody chasing. Jane Hedengren out of the Southwest, the senior, has won 6 of 7 races this year. In fact, her only loss was when she finished 4th at Woodbridge back in September. That was a race won by Riley Blade, but Engelhardt was also in that race. So some familiarity here with some of these top athletes in the field. And just as we saw a year ago, we have a blast of an early leader. Now, is it going to be the same script where going out too hard was the wrong decision a year ago? Right now, she still looks very comfortable here 5.5 minutes in.
And remember, Leachman was a youngster last year as a sophomore going out to that big lead. This is not the case with Hedengren. And speaking of Riley Blade, she was 10th at that first intermediate spot through the 1K. She's never really had a great race at NXN. A bit surprising, though, Paul, that Brentwood is leading the team standings. I have a feeling that's not going to last, but even through 1K, it's just a huge surprise. I mean, Brentwood was the Southeast number 2 team, not even ranked in the top 25 in the country. So.
Yeah, I think they, just credit to them. They have a really great spread right now between 17th position and 25th position, so they're all running at a group. Denver's problem is their 4 and 5 runners are well back there, and they're going to have to move up with the top 3 really moving themselves well. Just about ready to hit the 2-kilometer mark. She steps over the line. Hedengren is the leader here at 6:29.5. Let's see what that lead will be as the rest of the field will get to the line. It looks like they're going to get to the line right about now, so the lead is up to 10 seconds for Hedengren.
And that chase pack is looking more and more spread out, too, as we speak. So it's going to be harder for them to get organized, and somebody's going to have to take it upon themselves to start chasing Hedengren if they want to have any chance of catching her.
Keep in mind that Addie Ritzenheim was very patient last year. Leachman, Forsyth, and Engelhardt were all well ahead. Ritzenheim bided her time, and we may see that again this time. By the way, they are on course record pace. Jane Hedengren, despite these horrendous conditions, is on course record pace.
That course record, Caitlin Toohey, 16:37.8. She ran that in 2018. She has, of course, gone on to have a very successful career in the collegiate ranks and now into the post-collegiate career, but has set the marker and the standard here at Glendevere Golf Course. But right now, Jane Hedegren is dialed in, and look at that delta of difference between her and the rest of the field as they come into that big descent and climb midway portion of the race.
I'm seeing no distress whatsoever. Not only is she dialed in, her turnover, Galen, she's a tall athlete. She has terrific turnover for a tall athlete, and she has a very determined look on her face. There's no tying up here. She looks absolutely fantastic. If not, she's driving a little bit harder right now.
It looks like that gap is growing to me.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And her form mechanics look great.
Yeah, and on the team side now, Denver, as we expected, they are leading. Now they've got a 24-point gap over Lone Peak, Clovis in third, Del Mar in fourth. Now remember, that Del Mar group is very deep. They could make a push moving up here.
And don't forget about Academy, the reigning champions here at NXN, as they're trying to take a little bit more of a conservative approach here, but they've moved up in the standings, those green arrows reflecting all those teams moving up from where they were at the first K. And again, we'll have more splits here at kilometers 3 and 4 before we reach the finish line. Meantime, the reigning individual champion, Addie Ritzenheim, trying to push the pace a little bit and try to close that gap on Hedegren as they make the climb on these terraces.
And by the way, this is great that Runner Space has a chase pack camera, because when somebody's leading like Hedegren is by so much, the real race right now is that chase pack and what Addie Ritzenheim is doing, separating herself a little bit. But it also helps to have that chase pack camera when you look at the team title as well.
I really like this move by Ritzenheim. You know, at this point, you're coming up to halfway in the race. You cannot let this lead get any bigger, because the more that gap starts to grow, it's only going to empower Hedegren to feel emboldened that she's got this, she's pulling away, and that's going to give her a lot of strength as she starts to hurt in this kind of three-quarter stage of the race.
I have to ask you a question. So if you're Hedegren and you kind of know that you have this big lead, do you take a little bit off the gas now just to make sure that you preserve something for the last K of this race, or do you just keep pounding it like she's doing?
I think you have to be mindful of having something left for the finish.
Okay.
You have to be conscious of the fact that Ritzenheim did this last year. She was able to catch up and close hard, and you always want to save a little bit extra for that last push to the finish line.
That K was in 3:21 for Hedegren, and she's just going crazy out there.
Had a 3-second lead after 1 kilometer. It was up to 10 after 2. We wait for the 3rd kilometer for the rest of the field right now. As Jane Hedegren, you see her splits over those first 3 kilometers, well on her way to trying to attack that course record. And now that lead is up to 25 seconds.
Unbelievable. This is a fantastic field. What is going on? This is crazy. Wow.
Hedegren's running with a lot of confidence. I mean, I think that win she had at NXR, winning by about 40 seconds there, that has to have given her a ton of confidence heading into this race. And the fact that she is pulling away and that gap is continuing to increase, she's got to be able to take a breath right now, regain her thoughts, and just gear up for the finish. But it's her race to lose at this point.
Hey, I want to call out Sofia Rodriguez, the sophomore from Mercer Island. She just jumped 12 places in the last K, moved into 4th. Another call out, the one who went out like Hedegren last year but died, Elizabeth Leachman, just moved up 9 spots in the last K. She is now in 9th place. And Marissa Farabee, the undefeated winner from Midwest, moved up 4 spots and is in 5th place right now.
Well, we were all talking about it after we watched Jane Hedegren down on a golf course in Arizona run the fastest high school cross-country race over 5,000 meters, running a jaw-dropping 15:50.01 and just laying waste to this golf course under opposite conditions in the Northwest here. She's being smart too. She's trying to find her way around some of these muddy patches as she continues to have that lead. And meanwhile, we're looking at how this team race is shaping up. You can see the spreads where Clovis is doing a nice job of keeping everyone in the same spot, but they've got to move as a group up if they want to try to attack Denver here in the late stages.
Amen. We saw earlier that second pack, and if we could see them again on Gator 2, please. Sofia Rodriguez is the sophomore with the black hat, and she is really starting to hammer right now. She's going after it. She's separating from here we go. Thank you. She is separating from the other two, and the moxie that this young lady sophomore, coming out there just really hammering against our defending champion, Addie Ritzenheim. Quite impressive. Really long strides, really hammering.
And going back to the team race, I really like where Clovis is positioned right now. The fact that all 5 of their athletes are right together, it's just going to take one of them to guide that group and start pushing them forward. There's a much bigger spread with Denver.
And one of those things that we always like to celebrate in that award ceremony later on tonight is the top 5th runner award. And you saw there just a list of the various teams that are in the mix for the team race and where their 5th runner currently sits.
And to your point, Galen, so look at this. Brooklyn Buckley in 54th place. Sierra Cornett 61st. Molly Sundgren 62nd. Gabby Gutierrez 63rd. Kinsey Buckley 64th. Clovis has got them all together. All 5 right together. It is going to be super interesting. Another great split by Jane Hedegren. 3:22 for that kilo.
She is just rolling out front. And again, not a lot of distress still. She looks very comfortable.
Yes.
She's only got a K to go now, and I think that, again,
party's over.
She's running unbelievably.
The race is over. The record is over. It's now just a question of like who's going to finish in those All-American positions, who's going to be trying to close the gap on Hedegren. We're waiting for the next group to come by as she has now put another 10 seconds on the lead. Jane Hedegren with a 35.5-second lead with 1K to go.
And with this sloppy course, if she decides to, she's going to break that course record set by Caitlin Toohey. Now, think about who Caitlin Toohey is. I mean, that is a significant. Look at this tempo. Look at the turnover, and look at how comfortable she's on her toes. She looks so relaxed, so focused, so determined. I don't know that we've ever seen a race at NXN this impressive considering the conditions.
The fact that this is this muddy, we talked earlier about the course and how this is probably different than what she experienced at the regional meet, but it doesn't matter. Green jacket, gold jacket, it doesn't make a difference. Hedegren is going for it.
And we keep an eye on this second gator on the lower part of your screen because there's a really great race brewing here for those top 5 positions. And Addie Ritzenheim trying to put herself in a position to get on the podium once again. But that win that she had a year ago is not going to be hers today because Jane Hedegren is all by herself, closing in on 15 minutes elapsed on the clock, maybe less than 90 seconds away from winning this race.
And one thing, just for you Sadie Engelhardt fans, she is 15th. Riley Blade is 18th. Last year's 3rd placer, Emily Wisniewski, is 19th. And the undefeated Victoria Garces has moved into 2nd. Look at Hedegren, just kind of watching her footing right now, because some of these downhills, as you can see, can be a little tricky. You get those legs moving a little bit faster.
And this is a great shot with our drone high above her as she's coming now towards those terraces. So often those terraces have been the determinant on who is going to win a race, but right now Jane Hedegren just has to attack those with the same tenacity she's shown on this course all day today, and then the win will be hers.
And Paul, Denver now with a commanding lead over Lone Peak, so 2 of the top teams from the Southwest. Lone Peak was only 4th in Southwest in the regional, now number 2 in the nation. Clovis has dropped back, Academy moved up a little bit, so 3 of the top 4 teams right now, all from that Southwest region.
Well, you think of some of the amazing runners who have traversed on these courses in the past. That includes Katie Rainsberger, Alexa Ephraimson. Caitlin Toohey had run the fastest time ever at Glendoveer Golf Course in 16:37.8, but that record is gone on this rainy day in Western Oregon. Jane Hedegren reigns supreme as she will be the Nike Cross Nationals champion in 2024, shattering the previous record by Caitlin Toohey.
Paul, you've seen most of these races. Have you ever seen anything more impressive than this? Ever?
No, and from the very beginning of the race, it was hers. She decided to grab it, and she has destroyed this field here in such an impressive fashion. The official time, 16:32.7, as she takes more than 5 seconds off the record. And now how about this race for the rest of the top places here at NXN? Looks like Victoria Garces is there, maybe a half step ahead, trying to hold off Elizabeth Leachman. She will finish in 2nd. Addie Ritzenheim is there. She'll make a top 5 finish for a 2nd consecutive year. And Keegan Edwards making the first appearance by a non-individual in the race as Denver gets their first
transfer.
across. Yeah.
And Paul, Elizabeth Leachman was the one that bonked last year severely. Elizabeth Leachman just torched the second half of the course and moved up into third. That was a really impressive performance.
And a lot of our favorites you see there on the screen, Surwoff, Farabee, Rodriguez, who you had mentioned had been up in second position, holds on for an 8th place position. Ella Hagen, Wisniewski out of the state of Oregon back there in 16th position. She'll get All-American honors as well.
Victoria Rodriguez, Sophia's sister, just 4 places behind her.
And now up above, we wait for the 5 runners from the teams to reach the line as we'll get those team scores. Again, Academy is the reigning NXN champion, trying to close here in the late stages of the race, but Denver had the best runner first across, and what they do in this team scoring, Galen, is they'll take those individuals out. That's why those scores are sometimes dynamic, as they're reordering things in real time.
And Lone Peak, Denver, and Academy and Clovis all have 4 of their top 5 across the finish line. Lone Peak now has their top 5 across the finish line, and they look like they're going to win it, Paul. Their adjusted scores, they're now 15 points up as Clovis made another move up again.
Well, let's not, Denver's got to get theirs in, and again, these are adjusted in real time.
Yes.
So we will watch the sea of humanity reach the finish line, everyone finishing on empty as it's just absolute carnage. They're adding to the fog here in the valley as they are letting out some steam at the end of that great set of racing over 5,000 meters. Denver now unofficially back to the lead with Lone Peak in second.
Yeah, 2 of the top 4 from that Southwest region. Galen, I haven't asked you a question. Jane Hedengren, when she crossed the finish line, it looked like it was just a hard workout. Have you seen anything like that before?
She looked like she absolutely had more in the tank, and it was just to win against this field by 40 seconds. Unbelievable performance. She really asserted her dominance here, but this team race, so much can happen right now. We talked about the 5th runners coming across. The amount of bodies that are coming in the finish line, 2 or 3 places could make all the difference. So it's important that these athletes keep fighting, scrapping, and clawing all the way to get every little bit they can for their team.
And Paul, 3 of the top 4, it looks like it's solid now. 3 of the top 4 from the Southwest region, defending champion Academy in 4th, but Lone Peak only 4th in that region in 2nd today.
Still maybe some slight adjustments to be made here, but things now settling in as official results to be made official here shortly. It looks like Denver will take the Nike Cross National team title over Lone Peak, Clovis, and Academy, with Del Mar of New York currently in 5th.
So the Bybes and the Nielsen's came to play today for Denver. The Sister Act doing a nice job getting 4 of the top 5, and another name we know, Rohatinsky, was the 5th runner for Lone Peak. Josh Rohatinsky, you guys remember him. So a great job by the sister crew, Nielsen and Bybe, to bring it on home.
Final athletes coming to the line here in the girls' championship race at the 2024 Nike Cross Nationals here at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland. Athletes being welcomed by their teammates. So much of what makes this sport so great is that team aspect of the field, and these athletes coming in, many of whom are the 6th and 7th runners in their respective teams, maybe getting that first taste of championship racing. So, again, everyone, Galen, to be celebrated for their performance today.
Absolutely. It's so great to see these teams. You see them right now gathering together at the finish line, finding each other. And for the young athletes or the 6th and 7th athletes that might be returning, what a great experience. Mm-hmm. How great is this going to set them up for years to come, for them to be carrying on the traditions of these amazing programs?
And as we went through those introductions, Tom, so there's obviously a lot of teams with first appearances next to their names, but so many with veteran squads. And, a lot of these programs have been able to use NXN sort of as that carrot at the end of the season and create sort of a culture of excellence where they just each and every year just keeps coming back for more.
It's really interesting that you say that because I was looking at the stats, and Carroll, for the boys, they have the longest run of NXN, of being in at the NXN 16 times. Guess who's the top on the girls' side? Carroll. They've been 14 times. To your point about that, Paul, you start to develop a culture, and this becomes the biggest thing on campus. Even in football mad Texas, Carroll, cross country is a big deal.
Well, and Carroll unofficially right now looks like they will be the last squad in the order of squads here, finishing in 22nd position. But again, they're here, and they've done it 16 times, and they can use that as an incentive to say, hey, maybe we didn't have our strongest team this year, but we're the most consistent team year after year.
Certainly something to be proud of.
Just another point out here on some of the big names. Englehart finishing 11th. Holly Barker 14th. That's 2 years in a row, I think, that she's 14th. Sophia Bendet, the young lady I was talking about, the 800-meter runner from Texas, 15th. Wisniewski, who was third last year, she was 16th. Lily Bashirs, who beat Elizabeth Leachman, she was 17th. Zariel Makia, who you were mentioning, who has the international experience, she finished 19th. Chloe Heiler, who had been undefeated from the Northwest region, she finished 20th. Riley Blade, snake bitten again, at 28th. And Paige Shepard in 30th.
Well, you see our top three finishers at Nike Cross Nationals on the girls' side, settling in alongside Elise Cranny, one of our Nike Elite athletes who was part of the activities over the last few days. And now we turn her into commentator as she interviews the top three.
I'm here with the top three in the women's championship race. So we'll start with you, Jane, course record, NXN champion. How was it out there, and how do you feel being the course record holder among, the greats of all time over the last several years?
It was great out there. This is my first time at NXN, but I was just running out there with Christ today, and I had strength beyond myself. So,
incredible job. And Victoria, what was your race plan? How were you? Jane had a big gap, but how did you focus on competing on those around you to come in second today?
So this was also my first time at NXN, so I just kind of wanted to put myself out there, and I'd been undefeated the whole year, so I knew I had a good shot to place pretty well going in, so I just tried to not count myself out and race with as much grit and determination as I could.
Amazing. And Elizabeth, what was your race plan today? And we saw you racing, at the Olympic trials and late into the summer on the track. So how did that help you as you showed up today to race against the best in the nation?
Yeah, I didn't have a particular plan going in other than to just not put myself right at the front after last year. So I think the plan was just to kind of go in and be ready to push the whole way through and pass as many people as I could, and just make it kind of a game instead of trying to run from the front.
Amazing. And Jane, you're going to BYU next year. How excited are you to be part of a powerhouse cross-country team moving forward?
I'm so excited. Such a great team, such great people and coaches and staff. So really looking forward to my time there.
Well, congrats on a strong finish to your high school career.
Great to hear from all of them. Elizabeth Leachman had been dealing with some injury issues, kind of got a late start to her season, kind of used the championship run to get herself back into to good form. And, her third place finish really a great testament to being showing perseverance through injury, something maybe just a little bit about, Galen?
It's so great to see. Anytime you're coming off of such a big race like NXN, and it didn't go the way she wanted last year, but for her to come back and right that ship, this is going to set her up so well going forward in her running career, whether it's this track season or years beyond. And what really struck me listening to all these women was just their perspective. We talked a lot about how there were so many undefeated athletes coming in, and you hear them coming in saying, I know that this is going to be hard. I want to work on grit. I want to work on determination. Their mindset really impressed me, and I'm really looking forward to watching all these women compete in the future.
And don't you see that as one of the key ingredients to why we are in such a great era of U.S. distance running, is that the whole system that's here and the afforded opportunities where these folks even domestically can go to a line, look left and look right, and see people that have undefeated seasons, and they get challenged to be their best at the domestic level and then put themselves in a position. We see Grant Fisher, coming off 2 medals in Paris. He benefited from that system as much as you did, and now these kids in this new era.
No doubt about it. And when you see your peers doing well, and these are the athletes that you've competed against for years at a time, some going in, when you see them doing well, you know you can compete with the best in the world. And I think you're seeing that trickle down, whether it's the Grant Fishers, Elise Crannies, all these great athletes that have had success at the world stage. American athletes are believing now, and especially you're seeing these performances from all the high schoolers, and they're pushing each other as much as anything. And they're trying to one-up each other when they see someone run a great time, and that is what is going to put U.S. distance running back on the map on the world stage.
Tom, they now know they can run great in the rain.
Yeah, I was really struck by the maturity that Hedengren exhibited in that interview. But also, you have to have a lot of self-confidence. That field was as loaded an NX field as you've ever had, right? So now you're Jane Hedengren, and you are basically just getting this enormous lead. You have to have a tremendous amount of self-confidence to think that nobody's going to be coming up on you. And her maturity just really struck me.
Well, look back on the race here from the start to the finish. And even though we had a few out ahead in the early going, Jane Hedengren decided to take control early and just attack this course with such confidence and determination. By the end of it, now holds the course record, taking down Caitlin Tuohy's from a few years ago.
And what's really amazing, Paul, is that there's so many interruptions to your tempo and rhythm because of all the puddles and all the hills and everything that you have to avoid. But she just was nonplussed the entire time. Nothing bothered her.
As she comes across the line in that new record time, 16:32.7, breaking the mark by Caitlin Tuohy out of the state of New York. She ran 16:37.8 in 2018. Time now to hand out some hardware, and for that we go next to the finish line with Rich Gonzalez.
Well, I see Cole Hawker down there, the Olympic champion.
Second place from the Midwest, Victoria Garces. And our national champion from the Southwest, from Utah, Jane Hedengren. So first off from Texas, Elizabeth Leachman in third place overall. How'd you feel your race went today?
Yeah, I think it was definitely better than last year. I was happy to kind of get to take advantage of the circumstances this year and know a little bit more how to race in the mud and the rain. So.
Now last year you came out very, very aggressive in this race. What was your strategy for this year?
Yeah, I think the strategy was kind of to do the same thing as last year, opposite, and just start off further in the back and try to work my way up the whole time.
Come back on camera,
just kind of make it a game to pass as many girls as I could and keep it interesting.
So when you saw Jane make a move and began to pull away, what went through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, Jane's a super strong runner. I've gotten to race her the last, I guess this is my third year. So I know she's super strong and that she was going to have a really great race. So I think just focusing on my own race plan and just letting her run her own race and just get to be a part of it and celebrate it together.
All right, Elizabeth Leachman, our bronze medalist this year at Nike Cross Nationals 2024. Our second place finisher, Victoria Garces, out of the Midwest region. Victoria, all in all, how'd you feel your race went today?
I just tried to race really strong and just stay in it the whole time. I feel like I executed my plan pretty well, which was just to stay in the front and not count myself out. So it was a pretty good effort.
What was your goal coming into today? What was a big goal for you as far as a finish place, or how did your strategy go in the race today?
Well, this is my first time at NXN, so I knew there's going to be a ton of amazing competitors here. I had a goal of maybe top 10 or so, but then once I kind of ended up in the front and just kept feeling pretty strong, I just tried to see for as low as I could go in place.
What for you was the toughest part of the course out there?
For me, I think it was the downhills. I'm not great at running downhills, so yeah, I felt fine on the uphills though, so that was good.
Okay, outstanding. Our bronze medalist, congratulations, way to go. And our national champion, Jane Hedengren out of Utah. Outstanding race today. A lot of people had you picked to win this. Some people thought you would have a bit of a difficulty trying to pull away in a course like this, but you absolutely dominated. What was your approach coming in?
To stick with the pack and to see how it played out. Sometimes people go out hard on this course and that's great, but then sometimes they can come back to the pack. So I just want to be aware of that and take it steady the first few kilometers.
Jane, any problems at all in the race, or were you as much in control as you looked?
I felt like I was in control. Yeah, I felt great, felt strong. So.
What was your goal? Obviously to win, but anything else either during the race that you want to try and execute to try and cement a victory here?
Just staying light on my feet. It was muddy out there, so yeah, just trying to stay as strong as I could throughout the effort. So.
Do you like running in weather like this?
I do. I like running in weather like this. It's great. It's cross country, so.
All right, Jane Hedengren, our national champion for 2024 at Nike Cross Nationals. Okay, now for our top teams. First in third place from the California region, Clovis. Okay, so Clovis, they finished last weekend second at the California State meet in a tough battle with Trabuco. Fifth time in 6 years at NXN. The team always seems to do a little bit better at nationals. Gabby Gutierrez, first off, as far as the team finished, what was the goal this weekend in terms of placing, especially after that heartbreaking defeat last weekend?
Our goal was just to come out here and have fun the whole entire time and just like work as hard as we can. We've been training for this all summer, and this is what we just wanted to do.
As far as the course out there today, pretty fun, I would assume, running in that kind of conditions. How tough was the course in terms of the footing today?
Oh, the mud was crazy. I almost fell a couple times, saw a lot of people fall, but it was so fun and it's so worth it.
A lot of times people think about coming to nationals, and it's pretty much a fun event, but it seems like the focus is really strong for your squad coming in each year. What was the mindset coming in? How serious was the group coming into this event today?
The mindset was great. We all just wanted to have like really fun, come out and just show what we could do and like just try our best.
All right, once again, Clovis out of California, second at the California State meet, third overall in the nation here today. Our next squad, they were fourth at the Southwest Regional a few weeks ago. That region is stacked. They were fourth. They had to get in that large invitation, and they made the most of it, finishing second overall from Utah, Lone Peak. Okay, Brielle, Lone Peak, you came in as an at-large team. First off, were there nerves if the team would not maybe even make it to the national meet? You had to be selected.
Yeah, we were really nervous, but we just kept on praying, and we trusted our training and each other, and that fate would take us here. So, yeah, but we were really nervous.
Coming in off of that 4th place finish at the regional meet, but you knew how good this team was. What was the discussion in the team camp as to what was possible today?
We all looked at each other and were like, okay, that wasn't our best race. We know what we're capable of. Let's go out there and show it. And really, we just had to believe in each other and believe in ourselves.
Once again, they did it. It was Lone Peak, Utah, and the Southwest region, 2nd overall as an at-large qualifier. And finally, from the state of Colorado, your 2024 Nike Cross Nationals champions. Let's hear it for Denver. Girls, let's hoist that trophy high. Let's go. All right, we're going to slide right in here, talk with Keegan Edwards real quick, representing the team here. Coming in the whole season, Denver has been dominating in the high school scene, and today was another strong performance. What has been the key to this year's team in terms of what's at the core of their success?
I think just keeping the team focused over ourselves and just focusing on the team environment and the team culture and just focusing on how we can become better as a team collectively rather than just as individuals is the main thing that's helped us. And also doing it for each other, doing it for our coaches, and always going back to our why and why we love the sport, why we do it in the first place, has really what's been helping us get to this point in the season.
Such a tremendous season this year. When did the vision of a possible Nike National Championship first begin to crystallize?
I think it just became to crystallize, every single day, with every single practice, overcoming every single hardship, mainly in the season, and just going through all the motions every single day, keeping the main thing. And we knew nothing's guaranteed, so we were just focusing on the next race, the next workout, the next day, and what we could do in the here and now to get better on the given day. And I think that's what's ultimately brought us to where we are now.
She said nothing's a guarantee, but this year it sure seemed like Denver was a guaranteed winner. Once again, your 2024 Nike Cross Nationals champions.
Always easier to celebrate even if you're cold when you hoist a championship trophy. Congratulations to Denver, our team champions on the girls' side. Quick thought of both the individual race and the team race today.
Well, from the team, Denver, I love what they said about doing it for the team, putting their individual goals aside, trying to get better every day. And when you're running for something greater than yourself, you see it all the time in other sports. Your teammates are pushing you. You're able to propel yourself to things that you might not have thought were possible. So congratulations to them. And on the individual front, what can you say about Jane Hedegren? Just unbelievable race, so dominant, and it's going to be exciting to see what she does at BYU under Dilgy. They're getting a good one.
Yeah, they are indeed. You know, Caitlin Tui was 17 seconds ahead of, I think, Kelsey Camille when she set that course record back in 2018. The margin of victory here, over 40 seconds. Just remarkable contribution to the history of Nike Cross Nationals by Jane Hedegren. We got much more to come, getting ready for the boys race here in a moment. More history to be made as our coverage continues from the 2024 Nike Cross Nationals. We'll be back with more on the other side of the break as we get set to preview the boys championship race.
I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Deep down in my heart. It's down in my heart. I've got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart today. I've got the grandest, greatest feeling. This feeling's really here to stay. And it's a joy that needs revealing. So I just want to say,
ooh, $1.
Ah, good.
Oh, hey, jerk, give me that. I'm saving up for Runner Space Plus subscription. This baby put me over the top.
I wouldn't pay for that. I don't like to support stuff. Woo, stinky.
Dude, do you always throw away your socks? That's your Plus subscription right there.
Seriously?
With a Plus subscription, you'll gain access to all our live webcasts and the largest archive of running videos anywhere on the planet. Or you could just be like him.
Here's the final handoff. They were a little shaky in the prelims, but they get away clean here. Feeling athletic? Get the Athletic app. Welcome back inside the Runner Space Studios. I'm Paul Swangard, joined by Galen Rupp and Tom Fuhr. We're halfway home on this championship Saturday as we get set for racing here shortly. The boys racing coming up midway after the next hour, so plenty of action to enjoy here, as we also saw some great performances by that girls race as well. You know, one of the great things about this championship race season is just how much fun the athletes are having in the midst of trying to get themselves ready to race at the championship level. No better way to showcase that than each and every team, as part of their arrival at NXN, are asked to put together a team photo. Now, you could just take a picture and post it on your favorite social channel and just call it good. But, Tom, these groups have really taken this to a whole nother level.
Okay, this one takes the cake. This is the Stone Pony, okay? The Stone Pony has been the anchor of the Asbury Park music scene since opening its doors in 1974. Oh, gosh, you're too fast, guys. Locals, I got to tell my Stone Pony story.
Well, keep telling it.
All right. Locals like Bruce Springsteen, Southside Johnny, and Stevie Van Zandt helped put the pony on the map. And while today's top artists and rising stars continue to build a musical legacy, Lincroft builds a running legacy right there in front of that Stone Pony.
But you just love the, the ingenuity, the creativity. Of course, Twilight, the TV series, the movies were all done in and around the Portland area.
Ooh, I like this one.
Raleigh as well. I don't know if my favorite is in here, but one of the groups actually had their dads pose for the photo. And
were they wearing short shorts?
You got to go look it up. I'm sure they're going to be posted somewhere, and I encourage you to do it. And again, just kudos to not only the teams for coming up with those concepts, but the people behind the teams, the family members, in those cases, the dads. I asked the group when I saw them, I said, "Wow, you got really in good shape over the course of just a few short weeks." Because if that was a preseason photo, it certainly looked like they had not looked in championship form. So,
but to your point, Paul, this is fun. And this is what it should be. It's a celebration of the sport. Have some fun. You can only be one team champion and one individual winner. Everybody else, have a blast. That's what this is all about.
And as we talked about, not only is this a championship race day on a Saturday, but these teams come out a few days beforehand and are really celebrated, as they are deservingly so to be celebrated at the end of this championship road. So before we get set for racing in the boys' championship race, here's a look back at how they've spent the last couple of days in Portland. So two things I want to point out there. One, the sun does shine in the Northwest at certain times of this year, even in the span of the late fall, early winter months. But, you know, Galen, the other point to be made is these guys have a lot of fun before they turn their attention to the race day.
Absolutely. They're being treated like the celebrities that they are. You know, I mean, this is no different than the rollouts they do. You see the banners on campus. You know, Nike's got the greatest athletes in the world, and right now this is all about these high school athletes. And for them to be getting the gear, coming, you know, getting a hotel, everything, it's just first class, and it's such a special event.
And Tom, I put us in a slightly different generation than our young man sitting next to you, but, you know, I think the other thing we all appreciate, and I felt it, you know, truly when I was there on Thursday as part of the opening ceremony, is, you know, Nike has built an amazing company across multiple sports around the world. It touches every part of the world, but for us, and for a kid who grew up in the shadow of Hayward Field, it is still truly a running company, and this is one of those ways that they remind themselves of that.
I couldn't agree more, and the whole heart and essence of that company is running. From the days of Bill Bowerman, Steve Prefontaine, to the present you, Galen. I mean, the heart and soul, the heartbeat of the company is running, the heartbeat.
Yeah. And grassroots running, I would add, too. You know, this started with Jeff Hollister slinging shoes out of the back of his car. And
Jeff Johnson.
For them to get back, no, not that they've gotten away, but for them to be back doing this at the high school level, it is so cool to see.
And it is fitting as well that after the boys race, there is actually also a community race. We won't be calling that because I couldn't pick a favorite, but you know, it's part of like making this also the spirit of it also being a community event. We're enjoying very nice conditions inside the Runner Space studio, but we're enjoying the conditions outside as well. It is true, authentic cross-country weather at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland now as we'll get set for the boys previews coming up. Let's go back to the live pictures from Glendevere. And the boys getting set now for their introductions here over the course of the next, call it about 20 minutes here, Tom.
And the guy with the curly hair, that's Joe Barrett. Keep an eye on him. He just turned profile there. He's one to watch for sure here. Undefeated this year, representing Lincroft.
And we've got a lot of undefeateds here coming into this race, but only one individual athlete will emerge out of the pack. Of course, if you're just joining us for this boys race, we saw an amazing, legendary performance by Jane Hedegren, who broke the course record that had been held by Caitlin Toohey since 2018, a dominant performance, winning by more than 40 seconds. I love the fact that in almost every one of these races, whether it's a cross-country race or if we're covering a marathon, we can see one race unfold with a certain result, and then the next race is going to be totally different. Do you expect that in this case?
I think so. I think this race is wide open. There are a lot of athletes that have a chance to win here, and I don't know that there's necessarily the front runner like we had in the women's race. So it's going to be fun to see how it unfolds.
And Tom, that was really what happened in our script last year with JoJo Jordan. He was not somebody that was necessarily front and center in the previews.
No, Danny Simmons was a huge favorite, but to your point about getting out, Danny Simmons never really got out last year. He was stuck in the mire in the 50s and 60s before he finally made his move up. So you don't want to lead in this race, but you want to be within shouting distance of the leaders. You don't want to lose contact. And I'm wondering who would take it out amongst our favorites, but more importantly, if it's kind of slow and tactical, I look for Owen Powell.
Yeah, and so I'm going to take the counter argument here, and it's because I can hear the pitter-patter in the rain in my – this course is a lot worse than it was an hour ago.
Oh, yeah.
So is there – a theory or a discussion that's being had maybe between a coach and one of those top athletes to say, you may not need to do the Jane Hedegren thing, but you need to get out and maybe push this a little bit because you don't want to be chasing people and dealing with the conditions that are deteriorating. Now, that 39 degrees seems cold, but it is a little bit warmer than the conditions here in Oregon when that sun was out the last couple of days. But it's still, it's going to be a terrible track.
It is going to be rough, and the course is going to be in worse shape than it was with the women already having gone through it several times, in the laps that they run during the course of the race. But sometimes these guys are watching the women's race too, and sometimes all it takes is one, and all you need is one to get inspired by some performance like a Jane Hedegren and say, hey, maybe this is the chance that everybody's going to be expecting it to be slow. Maybe I'm the one that's going to take it out hard.
I disagree with the light rain and mist, by the way.
That's a very Oregon forecast.
Yeah.
Our it's true. I mean, I worked in local news for a long time, and the joke on the, I sat on the sports end of the desk, and the weatherman was at the other end of the desk, and he would just say, partly cloudy with a chance of rain, because he knew he'd be right 95% of the time. And in this case, yes, it's conditions that I think some of these kids from other parts of the country are saying this is an all-out onslaught of moisture from above. But again, and you saw in those highlights of their days spent here on the course yesterday and, of course, spent on campus on Thursday, that they've had some really great, remarkable weather leading up to this terrible day.
And, Paul, to your point, like in the race before, the California women did not do very well. The people like Engelhart and Blade, they only had 1 week to prepare. Clovis didn't run well as a team, but I'm wondering now about the California men, too, here. We've got a lot of really solid runners, but when I think about it now, they've never run in conditions like this, A, and B, they had their big state championships the week before. It could be very, very tough for them.
Yeah, and we've had 3 weekends of regional action, not including that California region. The Heartland kids, guys like their winner, Juan Gonzalez, Manny Putz, who performed well here a year ago, they've all had benefit of a few extra weeks to get their legs back underneath them. All right, we're getting ready now to introduce the field in the boys' championship race, and we start with a first-time team here at NXN, Glendora.
So Glendora was second in the California State Division II. They're led by senior Dylan Flores, who was fourth at state and seventh at Clovis. It's a senior-laden squad, also paced by Matthias Oliveros and Kevin Sandoval. 6 of their top 7 runners are all 12th graders.
3 squads advancing out of the California region, 2 as automatics, 1 as an at-large selection, and also making a first appearance here. I encourage them not to run the race in those ponchos, is Carmichael.
And they're from Menlo Park, California. They won the California State Division title, Division 5 title, pardon me. Landon Praytree, a senior from Woodside, a stud. That's also where Neil Young has his big ranch. Praytree was second to Ian Turk with the second fastest time of the day in California. Menlo won their division. Remember, Division 5 by a whopping 90 points. They had 3 of the top 8 finishers and 4 of the top 11 attest to their top end strength.
Now, I'm just double checking. Are we out of sequence? Is this our third California team, or are we on to State College?
Well, we were supposed to. Yeah, I guess State College is going, so we better catch up. Nittany Lions Pride and Joy, led by the Opperman brothers, sophomore Theo and senior Luke. They won the Pennsylvania 3A champion. I'm not sure where Menlo Park and Carmichael went, but here's Lincroft. Well, we're back on schedule. They won NXR Northeast. Now, this team has an attitude with a capital A. At NXR Northeast, they wore uniform singlets inspired by the boss himself, Jersey native Bruce Springsteen, from his seminal album cover, Greetings from Asbury Park. Oh, these guys can run too, qualifying for NXN for a 13th straight time, led by one of the race individual favorites, Joe Barrett. And Mount St. Albans, they were second at NXR Southeast. They're the pride of the Beltway. Senior Sebby Hume leads the way. Their first four placed in the top 30 at NXR, but they are vulnerable in their fifth scoring position.
And now Miami Havana coming in.
Okay, they won NXR Southeast. Marcelo Mantecon was the top freshman finisher at NXN in 2023, leading his team to a fourth-place finish. Two of the Ruiz brothers graduated, but the third, Justin, is a key cog for the squad.
Now moving on to the New York region and Manhattan.
Well, that's a bit of a misnomer, Paul. The team is actually repped by three boroughs. Kids are from Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. Their top three are seniors, Aaron Gill, D'Angelo Brown, and Hossan Muang.
Woodbury's second appearance at NXN.
Shane Golio was second at NXR this year and third in 2023. He's a great peaker. The top five scorers are all seniors.
Now on to the Northwest. Two squads advancing to NXN, starting with Portland.
They were second at NXR. This crew has home course advantage, and they're led by junior Kellen Williams, the OSAA 6A individual champion.
And if they were wearing ponchos, they'd be disqualified.
Yeah. No umbrellas, no ponchos. That's the rule here.
Not allowed. You can pick a local out of the crowd by the way that they're dealing with the rain here. So on to now Coeur d'Alene, back for another appearance here at NXN.
Fifth-ranked team in the country and loaded with talent. Won by a whopping 65 points in that very tough region, led by the brother duo of Maximus and Zachary Servey-Skinner.
I don't know if Taylor Swift has a favorite squad here at NXN, but perhaps Kansas City would be on her list.
Hey, touche. Led by Henry Acorn, the Missouri Class 5 individual champion. Acorn is a 408 miler and a split of 153 in the 800 meters and should be in the thick of things, actually, in that front pack today.
So those are one of two squads from the Midwest Division, and as we talked about in the girls' race, and it is to be noted, here's a second Downers North squad.
Amen. Return two of their top three from 2023 NXN, Grant Schroeder and Philip Supial. They won Illinois 3A by 71 points, but it gets better. They won NXR Midwest by 96 points. We'll be in the thick of things today, and they are on a roll.
As we saw with the girls, very strong Southwest Region 4 squads getting advanced here, starting with first-timers Taylorsville.
So will Taylor Swift actually be in favor of Kansas City or Taylorsville?
Oh, that
I'm
could
not
be
sure.
a toss-up.
Okay, well, there are two of the four at-large teams, of course, coming from the loaded Southwest region. Strong at the front with Cole Jameson and Edward Stout.
All the teams were making friendship bracelets in the VIP room, so maybe she's just a fan of all of them. Invite them up to Vancouver for your final show, American Fork.
The second of three Utah teams to advance to NXN, second last year at Nationals to Harriman. Caden Evans, the number two on the team this year to the great, or his number two on the team last year to the great Danny Simmons. He has the spotlight all to himself this year. He won NXR and is co-favorite at NXN for the individual title.
Niwat signed a poncho deal for the race.
Fifth at NXN in 2023. They return a whopping 4 scorers from that team, including South Quinn Sullivan, the second highest finishing 9th grader from last year's race.
Did not have a reigning champion defend the title on the girls' side. Can Harriman do it here in the boys' race?
Well, they won the toughest regional by a comfortable 16-point margin. Coach Doug Souls has a chance to be the first 3-time winner, having also prevailed last year with Harriman and with Temecula in 2015. Harriman has raced only once since Halloween. Junior Jackson Spencer, a transfer, was 2nd at state and 7th in NXR.
How many times have they raced since Halloween?
Once!
All right, getting on to the remainder of the teams here, getting the new squads in position. We're going to move on to the south here momentarily as Austin is scheduled to be next.
And Austin is the UIL 6A champion, and they almost won with a perfect score. And they were 3rd at NXR, where their spread from 1 through 5 was a tight 37 seconds. This is a very, very deep squad.
See the countdown clock, about 26 and a half minutes away from the racing here for the Boys Championship at 2024 Nike Cross Nationals. 2 more teams out of the South. Bridgeland.
Bridgeland, South number 2 at NXR. They're led by a terrific 1-2 punch of Ben Montgomery and Griffin Saki. Griffin's sister just missed making NXN as a individual qualifier. They were only 3rd at UIL 6A, but they recovered well to take 2nd at NXR South.
And you talk about the most consistent visitors to NXN on the boys' side, 16th appearance for Carroll.
They are the UIL 6A and NXR South champs, led by last year's fastest sophomore miler at 4:04.49, Caden Leonard, who was 21st at last year's NXN, where he was the #1 sophomore finisher. Blake Bullard and Griffin Cords make for as good a 1-2-3 punch in the country here for Carroll.
And we've got a couple of more teams to round out our field of 22 that have been invited, either by advancing as a top 2 out of their respective regions or one of the 4 at-large teams. Heartland with just 2 qualifying squads. Sioux Falls
pulled off a stunning upset in Heartland. They were the 5th ranked in the region coming in, and they end up placing 2nd. Won the South Dakota state title by 84 points. Their first individual finisher at NXR was just 38th, but boy, did they pack well after that.
And then our final squad to be introduced, it'll be the first-timers and the #1 seed out of the Heartland, Spring Hill.
They're only the 3rd entry ever from Kansas to make the field at NXN, and they're led by seniors Logan Beckman and Dagan True.
Looks a little slippery out there already.
Harding having challenges with the footing, and that, of course, they're not in their racing spikes just yet. They'll get those on here momentarily, but we'll transition from the teams here and then shortly have for you the top individuals from our various regions. It affords me the opportunity to ask the obvious question to Galen Rupp, and I'm sure everyone at home wondering, favorite era?
Favorite era of what?
Oh, he's clearly not a Swiftie.
No, he's definitely not a Swiftie.
Oh, I'm learning. My daughter's getting me into it. I got a 10-year-old daughter.
Can you name an era?
Name an era. 1989? Was that an era?
That's a year.
No, that was an album, wasn't it?
I have that's right.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
I'm still learning.
There's time. I've got 24 minutes for you to figure out how you can weave Taylor Swift into the race call here in 2024. We've got the individuals now from the Heartland, including Manny Putz, who I don't see him as not being part of our conversation, along with Juan Gonzalez for potentially top honors here.
Yeah, and there is a missing body here. But at any rate, round 4 of the great heavyweight matchup of Manny Putz, Robert Matura, and Juan Gonzalez. Each race has been beyond riveting. Putz is the top returnee in the entire field, having placed 5th at NXN last year. He's the one on the far left. Gonzalez won NXR this year in a kick, and Matura won last year in a kick. So you've got these 3 winners right here. Should be fascinating to see how this unfolds.
And Juan Gonzalez got introduced, and he's not there of the 4, and Manny Putz is looking around going, is he going to run?
Yeah, where is he?
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Perhaps he just didn't get himself out to the start line in time, but Juan Gonzalez, the regional champion
Manny
from the
Putz
Heartland.
is still looking for him.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Manny Putz looking over to the side. Where is Juan?
That may be the biggest question of the day.
Maybe one of the bigger stories,
yeah,
too.
We'll keep an eye on that. Midwest individuals are next. TJ Hansen's been back and coming back for another go at it, but Ben Crane is the regional champion.
Yeah, they're a loaded group as usual in the Midwest. TJ Hansen is the #2 returnee from last year, actually behind Putz when he was 10th, but finished only 5th at this year's NXR. And TJ Hansen has some wheels on him as he has a 4:02.81 metric miler. Ben Crane won the region and has captured 7 of 8 races this year. But boy, any one of those 5 guys is a contender for the individual title. And Galen, it's going to be really interesting to see how this race unfolds. And Gonzalez, I mean, if he's not here, that's a big question mark, big loss.
Yeah, I don't know where he is, but he could just be, using the restroom at the last minute, or maybe he's figured something out where he snuck out to the starting line and was able to stay warm a little bit longer. But we talked about these athletes being battle tested in the Midwest and the Southwest, and you saw it in the women's race. I think you're going to see it again in the men here coming up.
By the way, just saw Grant Fisher walking behind these 5, the double Olympic bronze medalists, and of sorts, it's great to see Cole Hawker up on the stage, giving out the trophies, the Olympic 1,500-meter champion, and maybe at least my highlight of the Olympic Games was that 1,500-meter race.
Saw Cooper Tier as well. Number of Nike elite athletes participating in and around the events leading up to this championship race day. On to the Southwest individuals.
Yeah, Kyle Stedman was the runner-up at NXR to Caden Evans. And he's a sleeper. He could be peaking just at the right time. Oliver Norton is also a name to keep tabs on. He could be this top Southmore finisher in this year's race. Watch out for him.
Oliver Horton, the sophomore amongst this group of 5, as we talked about. It is not necessarily the case that you're just going to see all upperclassmen, even at this individual level. More so common to see that in those teams of 7 that come out here, those 22 squads, often giving those younger athletes a chance to have that championship experience, maybe not factoring into the team totals as well. We'll get through these introductions here in the next few minutes, get ready for racing near the bottom of the hour, still about 20 minutes away before the gun is fired here for NXN 2024. Make sure you go the right direction. It's a longer run to get back to the start line if you go that other way. On to the south now, also a very strong group year in and year out.
And we're missing an athlete here too, Paul. Very strange. Don't know what's going on. Brady Mullen from River Ridge, Louisiana, is the state Division I champ and was 3rd at NXR, 4:08 miler. Mullen was the state track champion in the 3,200. Noah Stroman, listen to this, 3-time Texas State 3A champion in cross country and a 5-time state champ, Texas we're talking about, on the track. This young man has wheels, 153 for 800 and 406.18 for 1,600.
(11:15 a.m. local time here in Portland, Oregon. We're at Glendoveer Golf Course on the east side of the Portland metropolitan area. Been the host now. This is the 10th edition. Back in the day, they were out at Portland Meadows, the local horse track. That was an authentic track of racing as well. But Glendoveer's really embraced this event each and every year.
Paul, I think the rain has abated a bit. Not that it's going to make too much of a difference at this point because the course is what it is, but at least it's not coming down as hard to make it worse.
Yeah, very sunny the last couple of days. The rain came in overnight. In fact, the run-throughs on this course yesterday were all on terra firma. That was really kind of a nice track to get used to the conditions here, but conditions obviously have deteriorated over time, and particularly after that girls race as well. How will the California individuals handle it?
Again, this is a great group of runners, but they may have their backs up against the wall because A, their state championship was just a week ago, and B, because these conditions are very, very tough for California kids that aren't used to running in the cold and the rain. Ian Turk won the small schools division 5A, and yet in the small schools division he posted the fastest time of the day at the state championships. Evan Noonan won the state 3,200 last spring and the 2-mile at the Nike Outdoor Nationals. He had a big dip earlier in the season when a lack of carbohydrates and sugar in his diet caused him to bonk at the end of races. He's just starting to come back. He is back in the saddle and is a potential threat. J.R. Lesher, a nice article about him in Johnny O's Track and Field Informed today. Looking to finish in the top 20, just introduced there.
18 minutes away from the racing here for the boys championship race at Glendoveer Golf Course in Portland. As we get these California individuals introduced, and then out and along the way, we've got 4 more individuals, 4 more regions of individuals to introduce as we go from California and stay on the West Coast and bring in here momentarily the individuals from the Northwest.
Okay, the top finishers in this region will be back at it. Tavon Kitchen has won 5 of 7 this year, including NXR. But I feel like the big threat from this group is Owen Powell, the son of the UW coaching dynamic duo of Andy and Marisa Powell. Young Powell is the top returnee in the country at 1,500 meters and has run a Washington State high school record in the 800 at 148.60 and has run a quarter mile in 49.38. Watch out for him on that last terrace incline. There he is, right there, taking his, and he's got that killer look on his face too, I might add.
But how do you take an 800 kid out of this race, Galen? Because you're not the 800 meter guy. So what would you do?
You've got to make a move early. You can't leave it till the end. And you've talked a lot about 800 meter runners, milers, these guys that have run close to 4 minutes. You cannot give them a chance. You've got to break their spirit early, because the longer that race goes on, if they're still there, they're going to know they can outsprint anybody when the finish comes.
Nothing like crushing the spirit of teenagers.
Hey, these kids have that killer instinct.
Yeah, and Powell, just gentle strides here.
I love that.
He's a confident kid.
I love that,
when he
boy.
comes to it. So, all right, we're moving on. 3 regions remain. The Northeast.
Okay, the Northeast. Marshall Vernon from the great state of Rhode Island leads the charge in this region, second in the New England Interscholastics and 4th at NXR. Alex Fisher was second to Joe Barrett of Lincroft at the Manhattan College Invite, one of the top cross-country races and events in the country, and at NXR.
So Fisher, Gardena, Gray, Shadle, and Vernon are 5 individuals from the Northeast. The Northeast region held at Wappinger Falls, New York, same day, same course as they race the New York Regional. This year, the New York Federation Championships run in conjunction with Nike Cross Regionals was a great benefit for the athletes.
Gave them an extra week, Paul, an extra week to recover. I love that move. Made perfect sense.
Well,
for once, common sense was.
Well, and appreciation goes out to all the high school federations and all the regional directors and all the effort that's put in to getting these kids not only an authentic championship racing experience at the regional level, but also a sensible schedule for these kids, because they're all trying to race at their very best, and sometimes breaking all these races up and making them run week after week is just going to take their toll.
They're doing what's in the best interest of the athlete, and that's what you gotta love to see.
Yeah.
Is setting them up well for success, and it's hard to keep those peaks going.
So these New York legs a little fresher this year.
Amen. Ryan Sykes is only a sophomore, but he handled all comers at the New York State 5A and then at NXR where he won comfortably. And boy, he can run good downhills. Let me tell you that kid. Vaughn Furman was the second fastest high school steepler in the country last spring and the 2-time New York State Class D cross-country champion. And to be a good steeplechaser in these conditions can be very helpful.
I always thought that steeplechasers were great cross-country athletes because they're used to having their rhythm broken. They're used to having to jump over barriers. Things aren't smooth. They're getting wet in the water jump. I know it's not the same as here, but they usually show up when it comes time to run cross-country.
And our final group of individuals about to appear out on the course. Here they are at the start line. It is the group from the Southeast.
This region loaded to the gills. Tommy Latham is the number 3 returnee from last year. He was 3rd at NXR both last year and this season. He was 3rd at the Nike Outdoor Nationals in the mile last summer and is the number 1 returnee in the country this year at 4:01.74. Ty Steorts from West Virginia was earlier this season the top-ranked cross-country runner in the nation by DyeStat, had a minor slip-up at NXR, but he should be loaded for Bear today.
So this group will get introduced, and then a little bit of a time gap between the introductions and the start of the race so everyone can get back and over into position and get some of these final strides out. But again, conditions near about 40 degrees now, and as Tom mentioned, the rain's kind of subsided a little bit, though you can see some drips and still some umbrellas out there protecting everyone from the elements. But now the racing and the hugging is almost over here as we'll get set for this second of 2 championship races at Glendoveer Golf Course in 2024, the boys race, coming up here in just approximately 13 minutes. 22 teams, and then those 9 regions of 5 individuals, 45 of them, almost 200 athletes at the line when they start here coming up here in the coming moments.
I want to take that back, Paul. It looks like it's picked up again, the rain.
Well,
by
I
the
think
way,
as
how
soon
can
as
a
you
baby
said
sleep in
that, Mother Nature said. All right, so as the fans get a little bit of respite from the weather as best they can, using that old-growth timber on the golf course that usually is where my ball is found at the base of that after every drive. Let's take another chance to check in with our friends at Nike, Eakin Ant Williams, along with Charles Hicks.
Next in 2024, we are here. The boys are about to take off. I'm here with the NCAA champion, Charles Hicks. Yo, y'all had a chance to run with the athletes on campus over at WHQ. How was that experience?
I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Like, it's so amazing to just feel the energy of these athletes, but it's another thing to get boots on the ground with them and, really be immersed in it, feeling, how excited they are for today, learning about everything they put in to be here, and it just means so much more with all that context.
Yes, Charles, you was here in 2018. How would you say NXN has changed over the years now that we're here in 2024?
Yeah, so a lot of things are still the same, but I'd say the biggest thing that's changed is, man, these high schoolers are running so fast. It's just another beast from what it was like when I was here. So yeah, it's just amazing to see the raw talent, but also the execution of that talent in the times we're seeing today, no matter what the conditions are.
Knowing how fast they are, knowing how the game has changed, how popular running is now, are you excited to see any particular person or team today?
I mean, I got to rep my boys from Florida, Bell and Jesuit. When my team was racing back in 2017, 2018, what we wanted to do was represent Florida, and they've continued that tradition. They race hard no matter the conditions. It's tough there, it's tough here, and I'm just hoping to see them get a good day.
Yo, I love that. The boys are gearing up. They're at the start line right now. Any last words to them or the fans before they take off?
Yeah, go hard or go home, Before every race when I was in high school, my coach would say, give it all you got for 5,000 meters. There's no better advice I can give, and let's see who's the best today.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Hicks. We're sending it back to the studio. Let's go, NXN.
And always bringing the energy. Those Eakins, they're the lifeblood of that grassroots. And Ant was actually the one who interviewed Cole Hocker on Thursday. Just love the energy, and I think the kids feed off it too.
Paul, just one thing. Charles Hicks was mentioning Bell and Prep. I just wanted for the fans out there, that's Miami Havana today, and they won the NXR Southeast and led by Marcelo Mantecon, who was the top freshman last year. That's the alma mater of Charles Hicks, who was always one of the most articulate athletes we ever interviewed while he was at Stanford.
All right, let's turn our attention to the top teams that have an opportunity to rise to the top of the podium here. Harriman obviously wants it because they have it currently.
Yeah, that's right. And this is a little bit easier to dope out than the individuals, to be sure. Very experienced squad for Harriman. They are led by Jackson Spencer, a junior who was 7th in the NXR region. Tayshawn Agomo, veterans Micah and Jonah Tang. They're a very, very complete team, very strong 1 through 7. Lincroft, you got to love these guys, Springsteen fans, led by Joe Barrett, that senior who was just 59th here last year. He's loaded for bear. He wants to win the individual title and bring his team along with him. And then Niwot, 5th in NXN last year and 2nd this year. Quinn Sullivan, a sophomore, is a real stud and will lead Niwot. Okay, we're going to talk about some individuals. Gosh, there's 20 guys could win this thing, but all right. Joe Barrett, we just talked about him, but he hasn't faced top competition yet this year, so we really don't know outside of that Northeast area what he can do. Juan Gonzalez won that absolute mano-a-mano Midwest class with Matura and Poots. Poots, by the way, is not even on this board, and he's the top returnee. And then Caden Evans, who won that very tough Southwest region. But I caution you, these are only 3 about 12 or 14 people that could win. Now, Owen Powell, he's my guy. I think Owen Powell wins this thing. I think he's going to take it at the end up the terraces. Tavon Kitchen from the Northwest, and then Keegan Smith. He was the one that upset Ty Steorts in the South. So again, we've got 6, but it could be 12.
I think Tavon's looking at you and going, hey, what about me? What about me?
But look at that Owen Powell face, man. That guy's ready to rumble.
He does have the confidence, and we saw it in fine form there during the introductions. We also want to thank our Die-Stack crew who's done a little bit of sleuthing, and Juan Gonzalez was not at the start line for those introductions, but he is in the race, so don't know the reasons behind why he wasn't there. Maybe he doesn't like that 15 minutes of fame, but he's going to have some opportunity to have some 15 minutes of fame here out on the course here coming up shortly. As we get set for the action, as we did for the girls' race, we had our team at Die-Stack go out and talk to some of the top teams and top individuals leading up to race day. Here now another edition of Die-Stat Discussions.
Running with a little bit of a target maybe on your backs, do you think that the guys will be able to not be affected by that?
I don't think they're even going to notice if anyone's putting a target on them because they're just going to be trying to execute the race plan.
And how hard is it to repeat as a champion when you've done it once?
You know, it means a lot just to be back here. You got to take down a lot of really good teams, and you really got to be able to do it on the day.
I feel like there's like 10 guys that could be in the. Do you feel the same way about that too?
Yeah, it's a lot of guys. Just in that top 10 range, I feel like anyone can take it, honestly. Like, there's no like clear favorite in my opinion.
But for you though, you have your eyes set on potentially an individual national championship, which you would be the second athlete in your school's history, just of course with Casey Klinger, who won it back-to-back years. And
it really just shows how well our coach prepares us, and it'd be awesome to see what I can do. So.
To go out like as a national champion, not only as a team, but potentially as an individual, speak to that a little bit.
I want to come out here, we want to come out here, and we want to dominate. I mean, that's what we want to do every race, and that's what we want to continue to do, even on a big stage like this.
One key to success at an NXN, how do you prepare yourself to give your best effort?
I think there's so many things, but for me, I'll just say that you got to forget about the past a little bit and then just move on. Don't think about the previous races because every new race is a new race, so you got to start fresh. Don't think about how the last good or bad race went. It's a new race, new competitors, and it's a new day. So just go to the starting line with a fresh mindset.
What do you think it would really take to get the job done? Obviously not thinking about last year because the course was awful, and hopefully it's not as like it was last year, but I mean, I think there's different strategies that everybody approaches with this type of race.
Oh yeah, all those top 10 guys, we're just around that same fitness level. It's really going to come down to the last bits of that race of who wants it the most, who's going to push the hardest for it.
Something tells me that a lot of these athletes think those terraces are going to come into play, as we've seen many times over the years. Those last two climbs to the sort of the plateau of that finishing stretch of the race. I'm Paul Swangard, joined by Tom Fuhrer, Galen Rupp. We've got Rich Gonzalez doing yeoman's work out in the elements. He'll be involved in the award ceremonies coming up here at the conclusion of this race. Final moments here before we start this boys championship race. Conditions still tracking to about 40 degrees. Rain has been coming more on and off here, but now more on again, and it is again worth mentioning that the girls were out on the course earlier. The course was mucky then. It is muckier now, and as these guys get their final runouts, they're already feeling the effects of that. We're also giving you a chance to track those athletes out on the course with our athletic course tracker. They'll show the twists and turns over this 5,000 meters. This drone stuff all done under sunnier conditions. You know, the conditions really are going to come into play here, aren't they, Galen?
They are for sure. I think that you're going to see a lot of athletes being a little cautious at the start, and especially when there's not a clear favorite either. Everybody's going to be looking around, seeing what everybody else is doing, and I think that could make for a really cautious opening half of this race, but an exciting finish at the end.
Agreed. I want to say something. When Joe Barrett was talking there for Lincroft, you know, there's this element of team that we talked about in cross country. And I just have a feeling those guys are super prepared for this. I got that sense looking at Barrett that he's got his guys. He's the captain. He's got his guys ready.
Do you think it's harder for Barrett in that you're thinking about your team as much as you're thinking about your own individual performance?
Not at all. I think the best way you can help your team is by getting a low stick up front. So the better he runs, the more he's going to help his team out. And as much as he wants to compete and do well individually, doing it for his team, I think is going to be a little bit extra motivation that he might have over some of these other individuals.
And maybe that's the motivating factor. He has the conversation. He tells the guys, hey, I'm going to try to win this thing, and if I'm there watching you guys come to the finish line, hopefully you were motivated to run as fast as you can. And again, what they say every year about this event, finish on empty. This is where you let it all go, because it's all culminating here on this Saturday.
Aaron Solman has that course record of 14:44.5. I don't think we're going to see what Jane Hedengren did to Caitlin Tuohy's record here, but what I think we are going to see is a really riveting tactical race, and it's just going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds. I've really been looking forward to this.
A little over 2.5 minutes away from racing here at Glendevere Golf Course at the 2024 edition of Nike Cross Nationals. In a moment, we'll get that traditional gator run across from box 1 to the final box, number 31, and have this field for you coming up shortly. In fact, we're going to go last to first here in box numbers, starting with Downers North on the outside, Spring Hill in position 31. So for all of you that have tuned in from around the country, perhaps around the world, looking for your favorite individual, your favorite team, this is our favorite moment of the race before the race itself, as we get a chance to reward all these athletes for all the hard work they've put in.
Boy, Miami Havana really fired up. I guess Charles Hicks got his alma mater ready to rumble there. Wow.
And for many of these teams, first-time appearances. Not
There's
so much
Joe
for
Barrett.
not so much for Lincroft there, that wants to win that team title. A lot of teams have conversations that they want to have right here in these final moments.
That was Juan Gonzalez pointing at the cameras. Heck, where were you when we were trying to introduce you a few minutes ago?
All right, teams in position. Drone in position. Spectators in position. And most importantly, Galen Rupp is in position. On a rainy Saturday in Western Oregon in early December here in 2024 for the 10th time at Glendevere Golf Course in Portland. The top boys from around the country are towing the line for a national championship. Flag is up.
What did Tom Petty say? The waiting's the hardest part.
Let's hope there's no free falling on this race course.
Good one.
And the guns are off, and the mucky conditions here are going to afford us a very interesting race to unfold shortly for a national championship as Nike Cross Nationals begins for the boys here at Glendevere.
Looks like Juan Gonzalez already out there taking a look around. He's in the white on the outside there.
A lot of looking around here as they'll have that wide swath, even though that big puddle in the middle was kind of surprising some of those runners here in the early going. And we talked about it in that girls' race, and it's even more important here, Galen. You do not want to find yourself swallowed up by this group given the conditions if you're trying to win this thing.
Especially with how muddy it is. It just makes moves that much harder. And if you get swallowed up early, sometimes that can diminish your chances of really having a great race. So a lot of these athletes want to get out really hard, get their position, and then settle in, which is, I think, what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, and Gonzalez right up there, number 3. I guess it's 61 maybe. Now coming back a little bit to the pack.
We'll have splits out on the course at every kilometer, so not only will we have the ability to give you splits, but also give you the chance to see where the teams are in real-time scoring. You look at the elevation. There are some ups and downs, as you would expect on a golf course of this kind. You see the biggest ascent and descent comes up a little bit before halfway on the course, and then those terraces at the far right of our athletic course tracker show you that plateau they reach at the end of the course. Our course tracker as well showing you in real time where they are out on the course. They see this part of the course 3 times before they finally make the turn on those terraces for home.
Paul, Caden Leonard in the middle there, along with Eli Fitchin-Young. You know, we didn't mention Eli Fitchin-Young among the top Californians, but he ran very, very well here last year. Fitchin-Young was 19th place, and he's right up there at the front.
And so is 3:59. That's Evan Noonan, senior, one of the individuals from California. So the California kids out to an early, confident start.
Indeed, and they did the same thing last year, the California kids. I'm not sure they know what they're really getting into. Now, Noonan was the young man who had the carbohydrate sugar problem and has rebounded well. He would have been a pretty strong favorite if he hadn't gone through that earlier in the season. This is a great shot, by the way. Love this camera shot. This is terrific from the Gator.
You see the standing water. This mud, it just wears on you. The
yeah.
longer and longer this race goes, it becomes more and more frustrating. When your body starts hurting and screaming at you and you can't get your footing, you feel like you can't push off the ground, it gets really difficult mentally to keep forging forward.
Is there an ability by this group at the front with California to try to force the pace slower?
Certainly, that might be something that they've talked about. You know, I do think that this is going to be a more tactical race, and especially these kids. You mentioned Owen Powell earlier. All these milers, 800-meter runners that have these great speed, they have no desire to make this pace any faster than it needs to be. They would love for this to come down to 400 meters.
To your point, 3 of the top 5 from California right now in this race, with Evan Noonan and Ian Turk, who had the fastest time at the Cal State Championships, and Eli Fitchin-Young.
And there is Talon Kitchen on the right side of your screen, alongside Noonan with Fitchin-Young, Caden Leonard, and then Turk. Aiden LaRue, Manny Putz is up there as would be expected. Kyle Stedman, Blake Bullard, and Tayshawn Agomo. Those are your top 10 through the first kilometer. First kilometer just under 2:57, 2:56.5 for Kitchen.
And Kitchen looks like he's working a heck of a lot harder than Eli Fitchin-Young is. Fitchin-Young to the left, Kitchen to his right. Behind them, Evan Noonan, the tall gentleman. Joe Barrett, 13th for Lincoln. And in the team standings right now, it's Carroll and Lincoln. Now, Carroll was last on the women's side. They're first on the men's side so far. Interesting dynamic, but Lincroft right in there.
And you look at that spread at the bottom of these two side by side, with
There's
Carroll spread at 6 and the spread for Lincroft just 3. And now Barrett confidently trying to move himself up here in the standings as he also works his way through and hoping to make a bid for potential individual All-American honors. In the overall standings through a kilometer, he was back right ahead of Owen Powell in 15th position. His placings for the team is adjusted by virtue of elimination of those individuals in the team scoring race.
And that's Caden Leonard in the blue of our leaders, Carroll, at the moment. And Caden Leonard is a terrific athlete. Remember, he was the top sophomore finisher in this race last year, and he was also the top sophomore miler at 4:04.49 last year, 3:48 flat for 1,500. The guy's an absolute stud. He won the UIL 6A, which is the big schools division at the state of Texas, both in 23 and 24, and he's comfortable there in 3rd position.
Kitchen is the reigning regional champion. He is the reigning Oregon high school state champion in the 5A division. He was 58th here last year with his team, but now here as an individual and not having to think about his team.
Yes, and it's a contrast in styles. Fitchin-Young, very smooth to the left. Kitchen is all over the place with his head, with his arms, looking around. Meanwhile, Caden Leonard, Joe Barrett up there now. Look at, they're all looking around.
Yeah, Leonard trying not to let them go too far away. These turns now becoming a little bit more where we're kind of all holding our breath, and it looks like they are as well, because those are points in the course now where even with those spikes on, the footing is a little bit precarious.
And those are little things, too, that sometimes when you're out front, you can really use to your advantage. You know, pressing a little bit coming out of a turn, it's a way to increase that gap and start playing with the mind of the people running behind you trying to catch up.
They're getting through their second kilometer now. Came through in just under 6 minutes on the clock with Kitchen, Fitchin-Young, Caden Leonard, Latham, and LaRue. But also noting Joe Barrett now up into 7th, Juan Gonzalez up into 9th. So some of those favorites that we talked about in the early going, trying to look at where someone like Owen Powell is. He's now in 21st, losing a little bit of ground to the leaders.
Yes, and it's interesting. There is, when you're in the back, there is a lot of mud being thrown at you. I mean, there are some athletes here that are absolutely caked with mud. Aiden LaRue up there just is completely ground up with mud. Now Lincroft in the lead. Lincroft in the lead. This is kind of what we thought might happen. The Joe Barrett-led squad, last one in 2011. Bruce Springsteen is probably watching this right now. The boss is really happy.
Well, I'm watching them trudge through that mud on the lower side, but also coming off that hill on the upper part of your screen, and arms coming out and people just trying to stay in control when they almost can't.
Stay on their feet. I mean, this is really tough out here.
The last thing you want is to go down in a race like this, especially when you're up front. And it's worth running that extra distance. Sometimes you see there's a little more grass if you run a little further, and that footing is worth it in my mind to take that extra route.
And you can see how some of that racing was already taking its toll on some of that field that we were carrying through as we tried to get as many of those athletes on the screen for you to follow along. Our Gator also kicking up some good mud here as they're going to attack this climb. And maybe the lead has diminished here in the last kilometer, nearing and getting through the halfway mark of the race.
Watch out for Caden Leonard in the blue there. He's a very, very fast finisher, and he is going to be a tough out for anybody in this race. And also looking very, very strong up there is number 390, Tommy Latham. Tommy Latham, the top returning miler in the country. He's number 390. Be very wary of that young man.
Kitchen 382, and we talked about Leonard in the blue.
Joe Barrett within striking distance right there in the black, I guess you could say it, very close to the front here.
Charlie Voss has now also moved up 399, trying to bridge that gap, get in. He's in fifth, trying to break that contact with the folks behind him and get in contact with the leaders.
This is such a fascinating race right now, Galen.
Just a little bit different than the girls' race, wouldn't you say?
Just a touch.
Look at this. What we see right there, that any one of them could win it. And we thought coming in that there would be a lot of contenders.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this group starts to come together, too, once you start getting closer. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that, now that there's no breakaway, they're going to be gearing up for a big finish. And it's going to take a lot over those terraces at the end. Get to the finish line.
3K is going to come up here right now as they get through that line in 9:14.1. So it's Kitchen, Leonard, Voss, Latham, Fitch and Young, and then Caden Evans. TJ Hansen now moving up. He's in 7th. Bontrager in 8th. LaRue in 9th. And Quagliaroli, we haven't talked about him, out of the Midwest, has moved now into the top 10 as this race, look at only about 5 seconds separating the top, 15 guys.
And listen, Charlie Voss moved up 8 positions. This is a guy we didn't expect to be anywhere close to the front. Caden Evans moved up 11 positions. Ian Turk, the fastest of the California runners, up 10 positions. Robert Matura, let's not forget about him out of Midwest. He's one of that terrific trio. He moved up 11 positions in the last 1,000 meters.
See Caden Evans now emerging from our graphic. He's back there in 5th position, trying to close, as it is still Kitchen maybe having the advantage, even though everyone's doing a lot of looking around here, as he is the one from the Northwest trying to hold serve here for the locals.
And remember, Latham almost took a tumble there on the inside. Latham and Leonard are the speed guys. They're the ones on the very inside there. And number 336 moving up. We've had so many vicissitudes in this race. Number 336 also moving up there. That is Caden Evans, who we know won the Southwest region, arguably the toughest region to win here.
6 guys in this lead pack here as we move almost to 11 minutes elapsed on the clock here. And another climb and another murky part of the course here where footing becomes a challenge, and how you traverse and the path you choose could be very important at this stage of the race.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Paul, you make. The line that you choose. Where can I find the best footing, and where can I go to get it? They're 6 across right now.
No one wanted to take the full lead here in this race as they now gear up for that finish. As we keep an eye on that athletic course tracker, they're going to make one big turn. This will be where footing will matter. Keep an eye on this stretch of the race as they come to the next timing, Matt.
Paul, I think this is Caden Leonard's race to lose. He's in the blue. He's on the inside. He looks extremely comfortable. Look at his face. He looks like he's running well within himself. I really like Caden Leonard in the blue. What do you think? Galen, what are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. I think he looks the best out of these 6 athletes. And
oh no!
no!
Caden Leonard goes down. Wow.
Shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
But let's see how he gathers himself. This race still has a long ways to go, and the important thing when you fall is to not panic.
And he's back up there. He's in the front.
You've got to try to make that gap up closely and regain your emotions. And sometimes it can even give you a little jolt close to the finish line, too, that surge of adrenaline.
Surge of adrenaline, yes. Wow.
So
another tumble.
Just a terrible, terrible part of the course here. And as these folks come around the corner, some of them have seen falls ahead of them, recapturing now. Let's look back at this highlight of the fall. Keep an eye on the athlete in the blue.
Jesus. And he's up in the front right now. And he looks great still, Galen. He still looks full of run. He's looking around.
Yeah, after that initial shock, I think he has really calmed himself down, and he's just looking around now. Everything's okay. There's no need to panic, and now it's about getting back to executing and working on that finish, because it is going to come down to a finish.
And Evan Noonan now, I believe that's him up there. No, maybe not. Making a big move.
I think that's Voss.
That's Voss. The guy that is a total out of left field guy. Voss.
Just like JoJo Jordan trying to make a statement here as JoJo emerged from the field last year, as they now are gearing up into this last kilometer of the race. Still 6 guys in it, and maybe those terraces once again will put us in a position to define a winner here. Caden Evans now pushing it forward. And how about the story that could happen if Caden Leonard, after that fall, puts himself in a position to win?
Right there. Let's not lose track of the team battle. Niwot has now gone into the lead, and they've got a 33-point gap on American 4, Carroll in 3rd. Lincroft falling back to 5th. Caden Leonard's got his eyes squarely on the back of Voss here. This is going to be a fantastic finish to see if he can come up and reel him in. But Voss is making his big move right now. This is his definitive move.
This is the race of his life, you know, and he's a big, strong runner,
Yes, he
too,
is.
which in the mud and these conditions and with this hill, don't be surprised if he tries to go right now and can hang on.
What a stunning development this would be. Charlie Voss on nobody's form chart.
And he's getting encouraged on here as the spectators, the coaches, everyone running between these parts on the course. And now in isolation, Voss has himself a lead here as he's closing in on those terraces here shortly.
Well, the big question is he going to bonk up these terraces? This is still an opportunity for anybody there in the chase pack, because we've seen things happen on these terraces. Aaron Solomon 2 years ago.
And that's TJ Hansen, I believe, in 2nd position. First of 2 terraces, a look behind by Voss. Look at the back of his kit here as he gets over that 2nd hill. And let's see if anyone can get into another gear to try to close him down as Voss sees the finish line now in sight. Splashes all over the place here in the final stretch. Look at that field trying to close on the leader. Another look back by Voss. And someone we didn't even talk about going to the race now, a realization on his own face that he will be the Nike Cross National Champion.
He's keeping that tape.
Biggest upset in NXN history, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Great finish by TJ Hansen to knock off 3 guys in that last kilometer. And Keegan Smith also from the southeast. And Evan Noonan finishing 5th after his struggles earlier in the season with the carbohydrate and sugar depletion. And the 2 big milers, Caden Leonard, Tommy Latham, 3 and 4. Early leader Tavon Kitchen down in 11th. Robert Mature from Midwest in 10th.
And this is where those team places come into play so much. You see the amount of bodies coming across the line right now. Every little bit that you can scrap and pass in this last 100 meters is going to be huge for your team.
And Niwat's sitting very pretty right now. They've got all 5 across the line. And Niwat, that is another somewhat of a big surprise, guys, that Niwat would be the team titleist. They were the number 2 team coming out of Southwest. Yes, they were ranked number 3 in the country, but but their margin of victory is going to be pretty significant here, Paul.
And these are unofficial results. Again, they're removing all the individual athletes out of the results and then rescoring the race with just the racers from the teams. Niwot was 64. Their difference between themselves and American Fork is pretty solid right now. We expect that to potentially change, but it looks as though right now, unofficially, Niwot will make it a sweep for the Southwest on the boys and girls team side. And once again, the Southwest being very strong in both the boys and girls, finishing 1 and 2. Carroll fighting for a few extra points there to see if they can get themselves up and catch American Fork, and Lincroft out of the Northeast currently in 4th.
Paul, I just want to say how big an upset this is that Charlie Vaz won. He was only 2nd in the New Mexico State Championships. He was 3rd at NXR in his region. He was 8th at that Nike Cross Town Twilight meet. I mean, this guy won 3 of his 7 races, 2nd, 2/3, and an 8th. Now, you would not have expected a guy like that to end up being a national champion. 2nd in New Mexico, for Pete's sake. 3rd at NXR Southwest, and now a national champion. Stunning.
But it also goes and affords us the opportunity to just regale in the fact that it's such a deep world that we live in. And, you know, we were talking about one of my favorite stats. So Galen set the high school record at 5,000 meters a few years ago, 2004 to be exact. And now 7 of the top 10 performances at 5,000 meters on that list are all from the last 2 years. And it just goes to show that there are a lot of talented people on race day, and it's not just the people that you think are going to be the favorites that emerge as the winners.
And especially with cross country, that's the thing that I've loved most about it, is you're bringing all these events together. You got milers, you got 2-milers, you got 800-meter runners, and you never know. The conditions, the course, you've got to throw times out the window, and it's just about to competing. And credit to Voss for getting it done today.
You're right. You have to be a top-flight competitor. I do want to do a counterpoint to that 5,000 story. Of course, the high school record at 10,000 still held by Rudy Chapa, lives in Portland, by the way, may even be out in the course today, from 1976. So if you are a transcendent runner like Rudy Chapa was, you were too, of course, those records can stay.
What a great scene at the finish line here with, you know, reminiscent of some of those posters I hung in my.
Exactly.
You were thinking about that, you know, finish on empty, and just the emotion that is now flowing out of these young men after completing what has, for many of them, been the last race of their high school season.
When they drew up cross country on the parchment hundreds of years ago, this is what they had in mind, right? Let's get the conditions. Let's get the hills over hill and dale. This is what it's all about, dude. Let's get out there, the worst conditions possible, and let's see who has the big mental toughness. And that was Charlie Vaz and Niwot in this particular race.
Well, and it took its toll on some of our pre-race favorites.
did.
As I look down the list, Owen Powell finished in 46th position. Manny Putz back in 28th, so both of them outside of those All-American honors, but still lots to be successful about their seasons, and on to the next challenge, which is converting all that talent and fitness into the indoor and then eventually the outdoor season. But among the folks that we did talk about, you know, we had a lot of really strong performances by the likes of Tavon Kitchen. He'll make All-American honors. Juan Gonzalez All-American honors. Yep. So, again, this was one of those true tests of cross country, and every single one of these athletes should be celebrated, and I know they will, as having just completed that Nike Cross Nationals experience.
So Caden Leonard was the top sophomore last year. Caden Leonard was the top junior this year. Marcelo Mantecon was the top freshman last year. He is the top sophomore this year. So a couple guys returning to lead their classes yet again.
And that's always really encouraging. As a young athlete, you want these big races to be a positive experience. You know, of course, everybody wants to win, but when you see consistency out of those young athletes, that is going to be a great predictor of good things to come in the future.
Well put.
In a few moments, we'll go to the finish line where Cooper Tier will be our interviewer for our top 3 finishers on the boys' side.
Question for Galen. So Caden Leonard had that fall. He was probably too close to the edge there. Do you think that would have made a difference in this race? He got back up, he looked good, but if he hadn't fallen, would he have won that race?
I mean, it's impossible to say whether he would have won, but I definitely think that it affected him. I mean, without a doubt. You don't want to fall in a race. That's not ideal. And I thought that he did a tremendous job of managing that and getting himself back in and putting himself in a position. But, again, we talked about that adrenaline spike, but it does wear off too. And maybe it just all caught up to him. Who knows how that affected his body hitting the ground and whether that played a part, going up those terraces at the end.
And Caden did still manage to get himself on the podium as the 3rd place finish here behind TJ Hansen and our winner, Charlie Voss. They have all gathered at the finish line as they are getting set to reflect on a crazy race day for the boys. Cooper Tier with the interview of our top 3.
Caden Leonard, 3rd place. We saw you take a pretty big spill with about a K to go. How did you recover from that, stay calm and composed, and come back in for a top 3 finish?
Yeah, I mean, people talk about visualization, and, that's what I visualized. And I'd like to say I visualized falling, but I didn't. But, I have thought about, maybe falling at the start or something. So I think, I kind of knew what to do if I did fall. And, I think it just honestly woke me up, and I just had to get back going, and I don't want them to get away. So
definitely, and we've seen you on the NXN course before. Last year being the top sophomore, do you think that played into your experience and knowing where to go on the course and how to have a great finish like that?
Yeah, I think it helped so much, especially my freshman year. I broke my arm at NXR, and my dad told me to toughen it up, and we went and put a makeshift cast on it and ran my freshman year with that. And so having my freshman and sophomore year to prepare for this, and then my hundreds of NXN races online watching, and I probably spent so many hours this year just watching races and idolizing over those guys, and hopefully and wanting to be one of those guys, and I made it happen. So, yes, sir.
Congrats. TJ, we've seen you come from a very tough Midwest region and really put yourself in it today. There was a pack of about 6 guys coming in the last mile. How did you kind of get yourself away from that and get into that top 3 position?
I really felt like going into this race, I was just about prepared for anything. I just tried to take the corners wide, and I knew there were going to be a lot of people falling. At my NXR Midwest, I got tripped 700 in and fell, so I knew kind of how to handle anything, and I just kept pushing and pushing kind of that last 800, trying to do better than I did last year. I got 10th, so my main goal is to do better, and I'm so happy at this performance today. And congrats to Charlie. He ran an amazing race. I'm so happy for all of us.
Congratulations. That's amazing. And then we have Charlie, our winner, NXN champion. Is this what you visualized today, the outcome, and are you happy with how it played out?
This is what I tried to visualize, and just in mental preparation, you go through every scenario and you think okay, say I trip, you just get back up. Say I kind of fall off the pace, well, then you get back up to that pack. I knew exactly what I had to do. It was a K out. I just had to go. And I did a workout this Tuesday with my friend, and I had him start 6 seconds before me, and I just hunted him down that last K. And it's that's the effort I knew I had to put in. So I just prepared that when I hit that point in the race, doesn't matter where I am, doesn't matter who's in front of me, I'm just going.
That's amazing, and we saw you execute perfectly and come away with the title. Congratulations, NXN champion.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, reflections on what you heard from our winner, and just, visualization, having people put you in situations where you can mimic race day. These guys are smart and well prepared to race at championship level.
They are, and the devil is in the details, especially when there's going to be a lot of people around. You heard the second place finisher talking about, I'm running wide. I know, I've been tripped at regionals. I know how I'm going to handle this. Going over those scenarios in your head and being realistic in your visualizations about everything that could happen, it takes the thinking out of it when you get to racing, and you saw it in their execution today on such a tough day.
This is what makes the toughness. I saw TJ Hansen's face caked with mud. He must have actually tasted mud during the course of this race. It was all over him, didn't faze him.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, to surmount all of these individual obstacles that you may face. Makes you a better runner and a better person.
And if you break your arm, you just got to toughen up.
Exactly. I love what his dad said. Toughen up. Boy, Caden Leonard has a pretty tough dad there.
Put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
We're going to put a cap on this day with some awards with Rich Gonzalez.
Our top 3 individuals in that boys national championship race. Third place from the South region, Caden Leonard. Second from the Midwest, TJ Hansen. And our overall champion from the Southwest, Charlie Voss. First off, Caden, real quick, we knew we'd been one of the time contenders there. A little bit of a spill. How does that affect the rest of your race, that late spill over here?
I think I don't think it really affected it, but you know, I was able to get up quick, fortunately, and it was funny. I was literally thinking going into that turn just to get wide, but it just couldn't happen. I've seen so many guys on race videos fall there, and I try to move from it, and then all of a sudden I look up and my back is facing the opposite way, but it was all right, so it was good. Yes, sir.
All right, the top junior this year. Next year will be the top senior, hopefully. Caden Leonard out of Texas in the South region, third place. TJ Hansen out of the Midwest region. That race, how did it play out for you overall?
I felt like I ran a really smart race. I took the corners wide. I just put myself in a great position, and I'm really happy to come away with a second place finish. Couldn't be happier.
All right, congratulations. Second place, TJ Hansen. And our national champion. I don't think we had people actually picking you to win it. In the hunt, yes, but maybe not win it. What were your thoughts coming in?
Just stay up there. I knew these guys were gonna go out and have a great race. Stay in it, never give up, just believe, and then with the K to go, just take off.
When did you first feel you had a great chance to win the race?
Actually, it was when we were coming back into the straightaway, like the starting straightaway. I was feeling really good. I made the move to get back into that top pack, and I was just like, I could win this. So I just kind of went for it.
All right, Charlie Voss, your 2024 Nike Cross Nationals individual champion out of New Mexico.
So I'll still wait for the team.
For the second year in a row, the Southwest region absolutely crushed it on the boys' side. Last year, they had 3 of the top 5 teams. This year, they swept the top 3 spots. Our third place team from the state of Utah, Harriman. Jackson, I think you are the coldest of the ones up here. You're really shaky with that thing. Shaking. Coming in, you guys knew it was going to be a really tough field. You also know firsthand how strong the Southwest region was. How do you guys feel you performed today? How did the elements play a role?
I think we performed all right. Like when I was going off of the line, when I finished, I noticed like Noah came in. He was our 3. Usually he's like our 6. And like Caleb, our 7, also scored. So I knew it was gonna be like kind of an off performance. So, or just an off day for our team. So I guess what happened. But I'm happy that we got 3rd.
The last few years, Harriman's come on and become a national power very, very quickly. 3rd year in a row taking care of business here. What does it say about the state of Utah and about the Harriman program as far as their very quick rise?
I think it's crazy. Like the first time Souls came to our program, we got 3rd, and then we got 1st, and we get 3rd again. So he's a good podium coach, and I think Utah, we're a crazy team, you guys. A crazy state with a lot of good teams in it.
3rd year in a row on the podium, Harriman of Utah. Our 2nd place team last year, their roster was comprised of freshmen and sophomores. They finished 5th at Nationals. This year, finishing in 2nd from the state of Colorado. From Utah, our runner-ups, American Fork. The great story about American Fork, they only had 1 individual back scoring-wise from last year's squad that took 2nd. Only 1 back, but they rebuilt amazingly fast. Back on the podium, 2nd at Nationals. Once again, a great showing for American Fork. All right, real quick, coming in, what do you guys think as far as what the chances were of getting back on the podium? What was the story behind rebuilding so fast after so many kids had moved on?
I think we knew that there was going to be a lot of building that had to be done. We all knew we had to work so hard every day at practice, day in, day out, not only at practice, at home, getting schoolwork done, getting sleep, doing all the things that we need to do. And thankfully, we have an amazing coach, we have amazing teammates that all are committed and just wanted to get here and be here. And it's so great for all of them and for the competition, too. They really pushed us today. Thank you.
Obviously, great tradition at American Fork coming in. With so many new faces out here, what was the confidence level like coming in to Nationals?
Well, I gotta think. We were pretty confident. We worked hard this year, and we're grateful to be here.
All right, American Fork, 2nd at Nationals in 2024. And finally, last year, they were the best Frosh-Soft team in America. This year, they're downright the best team in America. From Colorado, this is Niwot.
Oh yeah, let's get on there.
So last year, 5th at Nationals. This year coming in, pretty much the same group coming in. You finished 2nd at the regional meet to a great Harriman program, the defending champions. What was the focus like coming into this weekend?
We just wanted to come here today and win it. We knew we had the ability to, and we showed it today. And Harriman's a great team, and it was a challenge, but yeah, we did.
What did you guys feel was going to be the key this weekend to actually make this a reality?
The energy we put in, and then also a really big key part for our team is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So that helped us a lot today too.
All right, once again, your 2024 national champions, Niwot of Colorado. And the Southwest region going 1, 2, 3, top 3 spots this year at the national.
Very special moment for the squad from Niwot, also the other podium finishers, both on the team side and the individual side. It was a big day for the Southwest. They sweep the boys 1, 2, and 3. The girls, it was 1 and 2, kind of the dominant region. But you were making notes. What were you making notes about?
What really stood out listening to these teams was the culture, with all three of them. Harriman, I know they were disappointed. You could sense that in their faces being one of the favorites coming in, but they still got third. On a bad day to be third in the country, and their 6th and 7th runners stepping up, to me, that speaks a lot about the culture of that team. And American Fork should have been a rebuilding year for them. They lost a ton of athletes, but you know what? They're a perennial power here, and they know how to get it done. And then Niwot, there's not much to say. Their coach knows how to get it done here as well. They're a young team. They've been building towards this, and that to me was a common theme amongst all three podium teams.
And I'm sure you're making the note that I did, which is make sure you write down a note on every single athlete in the field, because you never know who could emerge as the winner.
Charlie Voss.
And Charlie Voss was not on our initial radar
he
for
was
favorites.
Not, and in defense of us, he wasn't a superstar. He was a very solid, top-notch runner. But we also did say coming into this, there were any men, 20, 30, that could have won that race. A couple things that stand out for me is the effect of high altitude. Colorado and Utah absolutely dominated the races this year as they did last year, and that's really becoming a major through line. The other thing that really struck me, when you can see the Olympic champion Cole Hawker, when you can see the double Olympic bronze medalist Grant Fisher, Elise Cranny, Carissa Schweizer, Galen Rupp, all these people involved from Nike, the elite athletes, supporting these youngsters, that's another little lift in your stride as well. When you have something to point towards, I shook a hand with a double Olympic bronze medalist. I shook a hand with an Olympic gold medalist in Cole Hawker. That would be an inspiring thing for me as a young athlete.
And for me, not to be outdone on all the perfect points you guys made, I want to make special congratulations and just really appreciate all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. We're sitting here in the comfortable confines of a studio, but we've got tons of people, whether it's in live timing and results, whether it's in production, whether it's in the people who are trying to make this event happen. There are so many rain-soaked people that deserve our appreciation and a special form of gratitude, because to bring these pictures cross-country is the hardest thing to cover from a production standpoint, and I thought the group did a fabulous job, as did Tom Fuhrer and Galen Rupp in the dry.
And Paul Swangard.
Well, I'm just here for the ride, and we got to talk about Taylor Swift, so I guess made me cool with my kids. We are here at the end of our championship season, but we've got lots more to come on Runner's Space. We hope you'll join us for all of the coverage that continues throughout this cross-country season, on to indoors and outdoors. And yes, we'll be back again, hopefully, for another edition of Nike Cross Regionals, the Nike Cross Nationals in 2024. Jane Hedengren and Denver on the girls' side. It was Niwot and Charlie Vaz on the boys' side. So much history made here at Glendevere Golf Course. For Tom Fuhrer and Galen Rupp, I am Paul Swangard, saying so long from the rainy Northwest.